Welcome to Chew the Chat Podcast.
Welcome to Chew the Chat Podcast, Darren Keenan. You are hope for the future. You're representing the young generation. You're an aspiring MP. You've got a hell of a task in front of you, I'll say. Definitely. But everything I've watched and everything I've seen, you've done stuff with Channel 4. I've covered some of your stuff. BBC. I saw something with George Lamb, which I thought was really interesting. You're campaigning, you're working, you do spoken word stuff as well?
Yeah. Really into that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Really, really good. I saw something that you did. Was it Almeida Theatre?
Yeah. If later on you want me to perform something.
Ah, wicked. Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you for giving us your time today. You've come up from London.
No, Leicester.
Oh, you come from Leicester?
Yeah, because university.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we'll get into that then. So, Before we get into sort of the future and where you're headed, let's go back.
Cool.
You follow the podcast, you contacted us and you said you enjoy the podcast, so you understand that we are fascinated and engaged by what happens when we're young. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The trajectory that can be set, is so often happens when you're young.
Definitely.
And from what you told me when you wrote to us was a tricky start, which obviously all plays a part and leads to you wanting to change things, not just for yourself, but for young people in the land. Yeah. So what was life like for you growing up, and where were you and what happened, Darren?
Cool. So like my earliest memories were some of the best memories I've had in terms of like a family situation. So I remember sitting in the living room with my sisters, my mum, and my dad coming in. My dad was a builder, and I just remember him like coming in all messy, all got paint on him and stuff, and like sitting down, watching Question of Sport and having dinner. And like to me, that's the best memories in terms of like family I have, and that feel is like what I want to emulate in like my own family that I have in the future. But then soon after that, when I was like 6, 7, my mum and dad split up, and that's when things like went really downhill. So my mum started to date different guys, and she started to date someone who was like, to me, he was like the devil in it.
Right.
Like he was a really, really bad guy. And he got her like hooked on like heroin, like the really heavy drugs. And at the start, although I saw like there was something not right with him, like I didn't see like his true nature. But as the months went on, to finance the drug abuse, I would have to go shopping with him.
Oh, right. So he would utilise you in shoplifting kind of project.
Yeah. So I would have to like go into the shop with him with like a rucksack on, and he would just like fill up my rucksack with like all different kind of stuff that he would then go sell, and I'll walk out the shop and meet him around the corner. I'll sometimes do this with my mum as well, like, and him. And the thing is, when you're like a 7-year-old, when someone tells you like, oh, go around the corner and wait for us, even though it might have been like 15 minutes, as a 7-year-old going into a place that I didn't know, like it could sometimes feel like 40 minutes or something. So I used to always think like, oh my God, like I lost my mum. So that used to start, the like anxiety and stuff, because he was like well known in my local area. So this is Wood Green.
Right.
And like where I lived was Miller House. So like he was known, like the security in there, so we couldn't do anything there. We had to go Walthamstow, all them places. So yeah, we had to do that to make the money. But then that like whilst that was going on, because like there was a lot of drug abuse in my house and stuff, I'll be out till late, like 11, 12 at night.
At that age?
Yeah, as a 7, 8 years old, like 7, 8 year old now.
Wow. How old were your sisters, Darren?
So My oldest sister, I wasn't living with her, but at the time, my second oldest, she would have been like 11, 12.
Right, so she's a few years older than you.
Yeah, so like you can imagine, like whatever, like I had it hard, but because she was older, she had it harder.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So because she had to look after us, kind of thing. So
and what was just with your mum? So did you notice? I mean, it's difficult. You're 7, you know, and as you paint that picture of the family when it was together, you know, so simple, just together,
exactly,
having tea, telly on, but all together, you know. And I often talk about that. That's it. That's the magic. That's it. It's not anything crazy. It's not Barbados and all this stuff. It's just being together. Was your mum loving? Was your mum maternal? Was she engaged? Was she present with you? Was she a mum before?
Yeah. Before, yeah. So before this man came and like proper like dug his claws into her, my mum's incredible. Like I love my mum to this day. You know, like I understand like when you have an addiction, it's you know, like if someone's addicted to heroin or something, that's not them, you know, like the addiction really does seep in and takes over them. So, yeah, man, I love my mum. And yeah, but before, when I was living with my mum and dad, yeah, like we was poor, you know, we wasn't rich or anything, but it was just that content. That's the word. I felt really content, you know. And yeah, for me, my escape was going to school. Yeah, but yeah.
Did you enjoy school, Darren?
Oh, I love school. Love school. Like, especially when things were bad. So when my mom's boyfriend moved in and was going through that, school was the only time where I felt like I could be my own age. And yeah, I was like, in primary school, yeah, it was fun.
Did you manage to kind of keep a separation between what was happening at home and school? Like, were you happy enough at school that teachers and didn't really twig?
Exactly. Yeah. So the first time that I think social services started to get involved and stuff was they started to see, I think one of the teachers saw me going to school by myself in the morning, but to get to school I had to take like a bus and stuff. So the teacher just thought it was a bit weird, like a 7-year-old, you know, getting on a bus by themselves. Because at this point I would get up by myself, get dressed, go to school, come back, and like basically when we was kids, we was able to get like a coat hanger and put our arms through the letterbox and unlatch the door. So like, yeah, stupid thing like that, but that's how like I was able to
So while you're 7, 8 years old and you're starting to, what was the circumstances with your mum and that then? Was the house kind of like people are just sort of laid out, no one's on any kind of routine or clock or, you know, you're just literally, you're kind of by your own way getting yourself off to school, literally.
So
driven to do that and physically doing it.
Yeah, so at first, my older sister would take me, but my older sister couldn't take the stresses and stuff, so she ran away with her boyfriend. And then when she ran away with her boyfriend, that's when like the pressures came to me because I had to look after my little sister.
Okay.
And my little sister at the time would have been like 3. So no, she would have been like 2 or 3. And when my older sister moved away, like ran away really, that's when I had to like step up and, for example, not every night, but every now and then, my mum would just go out at night. And because I knew the life that we lived, I was like constantly worrying, and my little sister would be crying, and I'd be telling her like just go to sleep, and when you wake up, like mum will be back. But I had no idea, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
so,
no.
you know, so when my sister went to sleep, that's when I started to break down. But I never let her. I tried to like not let her see, because yeah,
that's heartbreaking, Darren. Absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah,
it's heartbreaking. How long does that go on for?
For a while, because basically we're living in this house in Miller House, and then when the social services started to get involved, that's when I think my mum had to start going court, and before you knew it, we was basically on the run. So between So I must have moved into like 5 houses within the year, and like some of them were literally squats. Like, so you would walk in, go up the stairs, and as you're going past some of the bedrooms, it would just be needles and that kind of you know what I'm saying. Jesus. But yeah, that was life. And then whilst we was going into like these different squats and places where we had to all sleep in one room, the man, Stuart, that's his, yeah, Stuart would whenever I'd fall asleep, I used to snore as a kid, and he would literally like full on punch, not like stop snoring, like fully, you know. And the first couple of times, like I would wake up and like start crying, but then I realised it didn't, you know, crying didn't help in it.
Jesus,
so
man.
you know, you just lay there, and you know, I only realised that it was a bit of, it affected me when I went into foster care, and that's when like I would just wake up in the middle of the night, like, because I was so used to getting punched in the side that yeah, it just became a bit of a norm.
Jesus, man, that's such a difficult thing to try and wrap my head around. And I'm sure everybody listening, you know, young kid, but this is the devastation of like drugs and poverty and society kind of. Oh man. So
the things that like kept me on the right track, so to speak, was my dad and my godfather. So during it, like, without my godfather, Lord knows where I'd be today, innit?
Okay, so what was how did he come around to being godfather? Is he like a friend of your dad?
Yeah, well, he's a friend of my dad, but he knew my mum as well.
Okay.
So a bit about my godfather. Looking at him from the outside, you would say he's a bad man, you know?
Yep.
When I say that, I mean like he was a drug taker, drug dealer, you know. He had tattoos all over him. Like if you looked at him, you would be like, he's a bad person. But to me, he's angel, you know.
Right.
And all I would do is, so I used to stay over at his house sometimes in Seven Sisters, and when that happened, I would just literally go to the pub with him and just play pool all day. But to me, that was like unbelievable.
Well, he wanted to be with you. He was protecting you. You were.
And my little brother as well. Like, he literally looked after my little brother. So whilst we're all on the run and on the move and everything, my little brother stayed with him.
Right.
And you know, that just showed like what he was as, like, who he was as a person. You know, like just taking responsibility of this kid that wasn't his. And
how old's your brother?
So back then he was literally like a baby.
Right, so he's younger than your younger sister.
Yeah, he's my youngest sibling.
And you're as a young kid, as an 8-year-old kid, you know, and you're on the move. You're watching your mum, although you probably don't realise it at the time, but this whole world's just changing upside down. She's disappearing into addiction, and this guy's just fucking dominating everything with a wicked way.
I realised it because like I would literally be watching them, you know, do the whole stuff. So I realised what was going on. But yeah, the decline was like really, really fast. Like I said, like a month went by and I didn't see any of that. But then, you know, before you knew it, just the way how he was acting completely changed, and the things that were hidden, you know, the drug taking, abuse, it wasn't hidden no more. And the first time that I saw him like hit my mum, only time that I saw him hit my mum, I tried to like do something. So imagine like a little kid, yeah. I went up to him. He's a big guy. He was a big guy, stocky. Looking back, I don't know how tall. I'll say like he's around 6 foot. But yeah, I saw him hit my mum and I just punched him in the stomach like as hard as I could. But obviously he didn't do nothing.
What did he do?
He hit me. And when he did that, I ran out the house. And like I said, my godfather, basically he would always be in the pub. Yeah. So I walked up to Seven Sisters, went in the pub, and he was there with my dad. So I told him like what happened, got in a cab, came back to my house and knocked on the door. My mum answered and Stuart saw my dad and my godfather, ran upstairs, locked himself in the toilet. And my dad and my godfather went up, bust down the door, punched him up. He left, and then my dad told me like, Darren, like make sure like you never ever lay your hands on a woman, you know, and that like stuck with me like unbelievably, you know. Like my dad, he never told me like do this, do that, but he taught me so many lessons.
Right.
But that was the only thing that he said, like, don't hit a woman, you know.
Why are you aware at this point in your life why your mum and dad split up?
I'm not really sure. Like, there was no domestics or anything like that. Like my mum, like, I don't want to say it, but like my mum was the person who was like, "Oh, you done him." My mum did my dad dirty.
Right.
So yeah.
So he's. That's got to be mad for him now that I'm a dad. You know, I think, fuck, man, that's, you know, it's a difficult thing anyway when a family splits up, you know, and we have to sort of, and I come from this, you know, when new relationships start, you know, and I learnt this myself because I'm so lucky that my mum picked a good guy. So when my mum and dad split up at 7, you know, the confusion but there was a good guy came on the scene, and as we sit here today, I've got like 2 dads, and that's amazing. You know, there's lots of crazy things that happened and things that can never be turned back, but you know, and then I went on to have a stepdaughter as a girl that I was seeing, had a young baby girl, and you know, she's 21 this year, so I've been on that side of it as well. The idea of me having my kids and being split up and then another guy coming in and having to just get your head around that and hope to God that this is just a good guy, but fuck, for your dad, you know,
yeah,
having this chaos ensue, and I imagine there's not a hell of a lot he can really do about it.
Exactly, because he didn't know where we was. Like when we started to move houses, like we went off the grid basically, innit? Just jumping from house to house. So he had no idea like where me, my little sister was and stuff like that. So
fuck, yeah. Man, that's just heavy. So at school, for you enjoyed school. That was solace. It was like, it was escape.
Yeah, 100%.
What about friends then? So you obviously, until the social services teacher twigged stuff, but what about friends? Were you bullied at all? Were you like just a bubbly kid and you sort of just...
In primary, I was definitely like, I would never say like I'm a leader like that, but like, I was completely cool with everybody. The time when I started to realize, you know, so how do I say this? So the only time that I got in trouble in school was basically one of my friends got into a fight with another person in my class, and his older brother was in the school. So the older brother punched up my friend, and we was walking past, and we saw like the 2 brothers together. So we was like, okay, like let's rush them in it because they punched up my friend. But when we did this, we obviously got called in for it, and on the CCTV cameras, it looked like basically it was like 2 ginger brothers in it. So like it looked like we literally just set on them because they were ginger, which was like not the case. And that's when I started to realize like the difficulties that other people might be facing. So for example, with the ginger boy, like I never thought like the difficulties that he might be facing until then. And that's when like I started to look at like myself and be like, okay, you know, everyone's going through like their own kind of thing. But yeah, when I started to like look at like labels and stuff like that, basically during that period of time when I was staying out till 11, 12 at night, I didn't tell you, but basically what I'll do is I'll go to the community centre, play pool there. Then when the community centre shut down, I'll just cycle around on my bike. And there used to be like a group of guys that at the time I didn't know it was a gang, but it was a gang. And the leader would, well, not leader, but like one of the main guys would give me £2 every now and then to get chicken and chips for myself.
He'd just see you around and
Exactly.
just keep his eye on you.
Exactly. Like he didn't know anything about my life, but he just saw like.
How old would you have been then, Darren?
Yeah, like 7, 8
So
years
you're
old.
that young still?
Yeah. So like he saw like, you know, like it's not right, like a kid's being out this late. So every now and then he'll give me money. But one time I went to go get chicken and chips, and a group of middle class, well, I say middle class, but they spoke like they were middle class, white men and women called me a chav and a thug. And just as I was walking to get chicken and chips, I'm like,
as like a little kid,
as a 7-year-old, like 8 years old, like because I was in a tracksuit, and they like, I don't know if they were coming from like a night out or something, but they just walked past me like, look at that chav.
Likely not from the area then, probably.
Yeah, no, not from the area, but they were just like, look at that chav, and then I was like, what, like, you know what I'm saying? And then I went home, and I sat there and I was thinking like, how could they label me? Like, they don't know nothing about me, innit? Like, they don't know that like I'm having to look after my sister at night and that kind of things. And since then, that's when I was starting to defy
You had that level of introspection then. You actually that played on your mind, and you were sort of,
because I knew it wasn't normal. Like, even though my life, to me, that was normal, I knew other kids didn't have to do that stuff, innit? So when you know, people were saying like, oh, you're a chav, you're a thug, or you're whatever it might be, I was like, you don't know me, like, you know. So from then, that's when I started to defy people's expectations of me. And you know, I always made sure that like I was gonna go to either, you know, my goals as a kid was either to go university or go into the army,
right?
Just to get away, basically. But yeah.
Well, we're going to get to that, because you're on track for that. You're in. You've just done your first year, and that's great news. This is fucking. It's heartbreaking to think of children. You know, we had John Wedger on here recently, who's done 25 years in the police and ended up going into vice for children, and just the abuse of children and the care system, and just children being. You know, children are just these little sponges of pure potential.
Exactly.
And the environment that we create is what cultivates them, and just like that little scene you painted the picture of, just being together. You know, this idyllic family that people have a picture of, you know, and posh holidays, and it's not that. All it is do we want to be together, and can we make the best of what we've got?
Exactly.
And if we can do that, you know, but when I hear like stories on this kind of level, I mean, it's heartbreaking for you, and for you, you know, from my point of view, for you and your brothers and sisters, but it's also heartbreaking. I'm thinking about your mum. I'm thinking about this Stuart. I'm thinking, what the fuck happened to them? What happened to Stuart to get into that fucking place where, you know, like you're hitting somebody else's 7-year-old kid, you know, the compassion in me understands that, something's malfunctioned badly there for him. And if we went and zoomed in, as you mentioned, everyone's got something going on. If we zoomed into him, I'm sure we're going to find some mad shit.
Yeah, probably. But like later on, so for me, like the anger and that has gone from Stuart. But when I was 19, we'll get into that, innit? But like, like it was just a difficult time, man. Like seeing.
So you're 8-9 years old, you're having that kind of introspection there about the kid with the ginger-haired kid at school, when you've had that bit of back and forth because of your friends, which we all do as kids. And then the other guys in the chippy. You mentioned your dad and your godfather earlier. Where we spoke a bit about your dad on the way here, you know. How is your dad coping then over this time? He's trying to find you. Do you have something reasonably consistent with him? Are you able to get to him? Does he get to you, or is it kind of every other year you manage to?
Nah, so literally, so from the age of like 6 to 8, I was able to see him like fairly regularly, because that's when I lived in Miller House. But then from when we moved, that contact completely went until I was in social services. I mean, in care, and we got the contact sessions, and then I had like a few contact sessions with him. But then when I moved in with my nan, the contact, he disappeared, and that's when I realised that he was homeless at that time. And like it was sad, because he used to tell me that because he didn't know where I lived, he just knew that I was living in Brixton. he would go and like sit next to the train station and just hope that like one day like he would just see me walking past, you know. So
that's heartbreaking.
yeah, man.
So you end up in what? How old are you when you end up in care then?
So 8, 9.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah.
And what was that experience like?
To be honest, the foster family that I went to was incredible.
Oh, amazing. I'm
Yeah,
so
thank God.
pleased to hear that.
Yeah, because that's not the case. Like, when I tell you I've been, like, lucky in my life, like, because that's not always the case, innit? Like,
Right, yeah.
But when I was with them, that's when I first saw, like, what family was, like, routine and structure, because I was living with, like, grandparents, and, like, the way how they taught their children was incredible, because their children, you know, went to, like, top universities. Their children, you know, got into private school and stuff. So, like, they were an incredible family.
Yeah, and did you see a sense of not only achievement and kind of aspiration, but like with, you know, like meal times and that, people communicating.
Exactly.
How are you? How's your day been?
Exactly. It was the first time, and the fact that I was getting it from people that wasn't even my family, it was really, really strange. You know, like when I would go over to like one of the daughters' houses, because they had kids that were my age, just playing with them, and like the way how they would treat me the same as their kids, and you know, it was
well, more power to them if they're out there. More
Yeah.
power. So from care, you mentioned, so you live with your grandparents, you live with your nan for a while.
yeah.
So is that after care you go into with your grandma?
Yeah.
Or your nan?
Yeah, Nan.
Nan.
Yeah.
And so is she your maternal? Is she your mum's mum?
Yeah.
Right. So what happens there then? Is that something you're looking forward to? Are you like, oh wow? Or
Not really.
No.
So to be honest, the only reason why I moved in was because my little sister, my mum always wanted us to keep the family together, right? So, for example, like the day that I got taken into foster care, I honestly thought like, okay, I'm gonna run away, you know, because I'm kind of backtracking here.
That's cool.
Okay. But basically, the day that I got put into foster care, we was coming up to the house in the car with Stuart, my mum, my little sister, and me, and we see the people outside the house, and literally within like 5 minutes, I was put in the car with my little sister and driven off. And all I could think was like, why would you take me and my sister away? Like, take me, my sister, and my mum away from this man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
he's the problem. Like,
So so I'll jump in. He's with your mum still, and with the family unit as you've gone through, which I imagine is a legal process, and there's all sorts of stuff for you guys to even go off to a care situation, a foster care situation. So he's kind of managed to blag it and keep his head down enough that they've not kind of pinpointed what's going on with him
yeah.
at this point.
Or maybe they did, but like this is, remember, like we're on the run.
Right.
So they just managed to find out. So they already got my brother.
Right.
So we found out that like they went to my godfather's house, got my brother. So we knew that, like I knew that they were trying to get us.
I see.
So when we pulled up to the house, yeah, that was just sad. Like I remember it like so vividly, because like I was almost crying. My little sister was crying, and my mum was just telling me like, "Oh, stay with your sister, like you know, like look after your sister," kind of thing. But in my head, I literally wanted to run away and like, you know, maybe that night find my mum again or something like that. But obviously that didn't happen. And yeah, so we went in the car, and my sister got dropped off at her house. And yeah, when my sister got dropped off, and I was just sitting in the car, that's when like emotions, that's when I started crying. Then went to the foster care, into the foster house.
And when you first got to that, how long was it before you felt like, oh, actually this is a safe place? Were you started battling it kind of thing for a while, or what?
Yeah, like so at the start I was like really shy, you know, so I wouldn't really talk to people. Like my whole life and everything, only until I was 19, up to 19, no one knew. Like social services, I didn't talk about my life to anybody. So when I went into foster care, like I didn't tell them about my past and stuff like that, but they knew about, because I'm sure that the fire and stuff.
Yeah, they'll have a reasonable insight. But you strike me as just such a really affable and likeable, nice, polite lad.
Thank you.
Has that always been the case then? Have you always managed to maintain that, even in the midst of anger and pain? And
I think it's just my friends, man. My friends have like always, like, to me, like the amount of like trauma and like hurt that I had like around my family, whenever I went and saw like my friends, that was just a complete relief. Like,
okay,
you know. So
what are their family life like? You know, what is their background? What is their situation?
Like my closest friends, just like they got like mum, dad. You know, some of them are like single parents and stuff, but we're all just on the grind. Like, for example, like, you know, we'll just like sit there and like, you know, when we're in our teens and stuff, just talk about like, oh, I really want to do this. Like, we can do this. And you know that, like, when you're just chilling with your friends, just thinking, I want to do this in the future and da 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 da. So that's all. That's
so
what
like
we was
motivating
about.
each other with good stuff. So you didn't take the other track into the streets and sort of recreate the path.
It could have, but like I've always known like what I want to do in my life, and I knew that if I got a criminal record, I won't be able to do that. So I always try to make sure that I stuck on a straight and out. Now that wasn't always the case. Like, I'm not a saint, you know what I'm saying? I am not a saint, but I try to like do the right things, and I have my morals about me.
What are you now, 24?
Mm-hmm.
You're 24 years old, so you've lived a long life already.
Yeah.
Haven't you?
Yeah, like like I'll say like you know, from the age of like 16, that's when, so let me backtrack a bit, sorry.
Yeah, not at all, man. We're tangential. Keep on.
So so I must have moved in with my nan, as going back to that bit. So the only reason why I moved in was because I wanted to keep the family together, as my mum said, like, stay with your sister. And my sister was moving with my aunt. And they all lived near each other. So I was like, I don't really want to move in because I know that this place is cool, innit? Like, it's all right. And I didn't want to change my primary school. But I moved in with my nan and it seemed all right, you know, it seemed all right. But look, the thing is, my nan's like an incredible person, yeah? Like, when she was younger, the racial abuse that she would get was, you know, really, really bad from what she was telling me. And, you know, she would even like, in some people's later years, even though they were racist to her before, she would still be there to like help them and stuff. Mm-hmm. So my nan's like a really nice person. But mine and her relationship, as the years went on, it got a bit bad.
Okay.
But so during like secondary school, I got back in contact with my dad, which was unbelievable. And
how did that come around, Darren? Did you manage to find him? What happened?
I have no idea. He just came to the house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know how. Like, he just found our details somehow. So I got back in contact with him, and for like weeks, for like 3 years, every weekend he would come to my rugby matches, and then after my rugby matches, I'll go back to like the hostel that he was living in. And I'll be playing like snooker with him for like 4 or 5 hours, and like
just being together.
Yeah, man. Like, literally, like, the time just flew. Them 3 years was just going through the motions in school, and you know. But then I started to see a slight decline in his in his health. So by that I mean like I just started seeing little things that just didn't seem right. So for example, when we was playing snooker, although he had to like hit a colour, he would forget that he had to hit a colour and he hit a red. Just little things like that that I would just pick up on. But then like all of a sudden, like out of the blue, when I was in year 10, so like we're talking when I was like 15, just disappeared. So like I went to like his hostel, and they said that they couldn't disclose his information or anything. So
well, he was no longer there.
Yeah, he was no longer there. So
So you've just managed to build up a relationship with him and get yourself in and you're now coming into those pretty pivotal years as well as a young adolescent, 15 years old. A father figure, it seems like at that point in life, is a really good benefited balance to have,
Like, yeah, any like I just needed like a male influence in my life. So positive. Like when he went, in school, things went off the rails a bit, looking back, because...
So you had no explanation, just you've gone to see him where you've been going to see him for 3 years, and they say, look, sorry, Darren, probably people who work in there have seen you every week for years, and... Everyone knew me. They probably had to go home with their head in their hands thinking, oh my God.
Because he moved out. So he moved to another location, but that's the information that they couldn't disclose with me.
Of course, yeah, it's part of professional policy, isn't it?
So, I lost contact with him. And it affected me because I knew something wasn't right. It affected me. And during that period of time, that's when I got excluded from school. Not permanently, but just for like a week for having a fight. And, my behaviour did go off the rails a bit during that period of time.
I can imagine. And what about your brother and sister, your younger ones at this point then? Were they seeing your dad? Were they in different places?
Yeah, so my younger sister and my younger brother were both living with my aunt at this point. So my little sister saw my dad like every now and then, but like not very much. And it's sad for them, my little brother, like he's never like his dad's different. So the only people that have like the same dad is me and my little sister.
Yeah.
So I feel sorry for my little brother as well, because he hasn't met his dad. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
God, there's so much.
Just dysfunctional.
There's so much going on, isn't there? That when we, I come back to it. When we think about whatever it is that's nourishing, it's always very simple. Whether you're talking about water or vegetables or love, And then when we end up in a situation like you've ended up in, which you didn't set this thing up, you just arrived here, and then this chaos is just happening, and you're just bouncing around in this chaos, trying to find something solid, stable, meaningful, to find something to grow with. Oh, it's fucking crazy, man. But how you've maintained. And as we will move towards your aspirations now and the things you're doing now, I mean, it's phenomenal, man. It's phenomenal. Thanks. It really, really is. So, your dad's disappeared. You're now at the point where this is affecting behaviour now. This is affecting that your heart is hurting. You're becoming a young man. Your body's changing. Your hormones. You're going through all of that cycle. And you get excluded from school. What happens then?
I just go through the motions, I didn't tell anyone in my family like I was like missing my dad and stuff like that, because basically just before he disappeared, when I started to see the decline and stuff, he must have came around my house, but it was only me and my sister's boyfriend in the house. And when he came around, I could see like something wasn't right. Like his coordination, like he didn't know where the toilet was and da-da-da-da-da. And when my nan and sister came back later that day, my sister's boyfriend said that my dad came to the house drunk. Now that pissed me off like mad, because I knew that wasn't the case. You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, my dad was sober for like years and years, so I knew that wasn't the case. Like, I knew something was wrong, but they all believed him. So, like to my nan and my older sister, they all thought my dad came to the house drunk and da-da-da. So they were like, "Oh, you can't really see," you know what I'm saying? So it just it played with me. It played with me. But then, yeah, I always had them goals in it, and like I've always wanted to make my dad proud. Like from young, like it's a huge thing for me to make my dad proud. So when I was 16 and when I went into college, that's when the family dynamics in my house, it went downhill because my nan's quite old-fashioned. So once you're 16, you're basically a man. And, you have to start providing for the house kind of thing, start paying rent, stuff like that. So I was finding it difficult because so backtrack a bit. The college that I went to was Richmond upon Thames College, but I lived in Brixton. So, and because I didn't have any money, I had to get the bus to college, which was like a 2.5-3 hour journey. So you can imagine, like, it was like to get in for like a 9 o'clock lesson. I'll be waking up at 5, leaving out at 6, getting there like 8:30, and then do the lessons. But then I also had twilight lessons, so I'll be leaving college at 6 p.m, doing the 3-hour journey back to Brixton 9 p.m, and it was just stressful. And then to like relieve the stress, I used to do like weightlifting, and that would help. And then I'll get back home like around 10 p.m.
So you were driven, again, it's phenomenal, man. You were driven to do that. You hop on that bus early in the morning, getting yourself out of bed, determined. Yeah,
because at first I thought like I'd be able to. So schools provide bursaries. So if you can't afford like to get on a train and stuff, but it got to a point where my attendance or my punctuality started to slack off, which meant I wasn't entitled to the bursary, which meant it became like a cycle kind of thing.
Yeah, made it even harder for you to get there.
Yeah, so that's when I started to do the bus, and it was draining mentally. And then like during this period of time, my nan and like my eldest sister, but like my nan and my oldest sister, they were like getting on to me, like get a job, or go on the dough, or like benefits. But because you're in college, you can't do that. So that was the first time that I started to think like maybe I might have to do something elite, like might have to start shooting, or you know what I'm saying? Because I knew people in that kind of area, that field.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I made sure like no.
So that came in your mind though. You did think, shit, I need to get some money, and there's things you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
But you managed to fight that off and stick with your guns, so to speak.
Yeah. I managed to, man. So I would just struggle in it. So like when I tell you I was broke, I mean like just broke, no money in my account like, at all.
But you've got this determination, and a willingness to fight and to see it through and to keep pushing. In the midst of absolute, not just chaos, but like young people need love. They need to feel, and I'm sure there's love there, but the security, to enable a young person to believe, to have confidence, especially these days when there's social media and there's just chaos and content and fucking everyone's, measuring themselves against everything around them and disbelieving that they're capable, that they're worthy. To keep on keeping on in that moment, and like that's amazing. That is amazing. That's one of the things that I think stands out for you, to me. And this is something that producer Aidan and I talk about a lot. As I introduced you to Aidan, he's a young lad, a bit younger than you. And he's kind of my, these days, he's kind of my sort of link back. Now I'm getting on a bit, to the younger generation. And it's always so inspiring because as I'm trying to work out the world today at 40 years old with young kids, all I keep coming back to is good old imperial ethics of hard work, like go and get it, like put it in, respect your elders, respect the older people in the room, respect people who've been there longer, whether you agree with them or dislike them, respect them. Do the work, put the hours in. What you do when no one's looking, that's who you really are. I keep coming back to that. And yourself, that's what I feel. I feel like this is a person who's determined no matter the madness.
I've definitely had them like moments of like hopelessness though.
Of course.
My family, like it was the love that I got from the foster family. I didn't receive that from my nan. You know what I'm saying? Like little things like saying like good night. So at this point, I was living with like my nan and my little brother, and just little things like, you know, I mean, not my nan, my nan, my little brother, and my older sister. Little things like, you know, saying like good night to everybody apart from me, like little things like that. Yeah. Like
purposely, like, you know.
Yeah, like to be honest, I've always felt like a bit of like a black sheep in my family. You know, like when you see like, you know, all my uncles have been in prison, my mom's been in prison, cousins been in prison, like, you know what I'm saying?
So you're just this little straight kind of conventional nice boy who keeps ruining everything because you know you're not prepared to get on the crazy way of doing things, i.e. jack your college in and start bringing money in and however you want to do it, kind of thing.
But like it's because the thing is with my uncles and that, they see, for me personally, like lessons that I've learned in my life, my children, when I have them, I'm not gonna make them have to pay. Like if they're in education, I'm not gonna, like, until they go university, I'm gonna be like, you don't have to work, you know. But my family, that was the case. You gotta make the money. And because my oldest sister, she wasn't doing anything, but she was on like benefits and so she was giving my nan money. And that's when, you know, my older sister was like, oh well, I'm giving you money, so how come Darren's not giving you money?
Right, yeah.
You know, and that's when them kind of problems happened. But yeah, it kind of all came into like a toll when basically during that period of time when I was having to do the crazy journeys to school and stuff, my nan was like getting on to, not just my nan, but my older sister, like they were just really, really, really getting on to me, to the point where I would like call my lecturer or my tutor and be like, can you tell, so for example, on this occasion, just a normal day, was going into college, but the bus, there was like something going on like further down the road for the bus to stop. So bus stopped and I was sitting there thinking like, oh man, I'm gonna be late. And for some reason, this teacher, even if you're 5 minutes late, you're not getting in the class. So I was like, oh, like there's no point in me doing this 3-hour journey if she's just gonna turn me away. So I went back home, and when I got in, my sister was like, oh, what are you doing back? And I was just like, oh, like I'm not gonna be able to get in time. Went in my room, my nan came back because she did breakfast club and stuff like that. She came back and my sister told her, and like they got onto me. Like, you know, my nan was saying like, you know, you should have walked it, and
just putting it on you.
Yeah, just stupid things like that, you know. And then my uncle came in, like when I tell you, they were shouting at me, like, you know. And we lived in a bungalow, so it's not like I can shut my door and like I'm hearing like all the stuff. So I was stressing so much that I called my tutor and I told her, like, can you tell my nan and family, like, this teacher doesn't allow people in after the time? So she was like, yeah, cool. So as my nan's on the phone with her, and my tutor's telling her like, oh, it's completely fine, like my uncle and my older sister are like grilling me and stuff like that. And then my nan's talking, puts down the phone, and then she starts grilling me as well, like, you know what I'm saying? So it was difficult. And it got to a point where the family like dynamics and stuff was so bad that you know,
you're just singled out totally, you feel like.
Yeah, during that period of time, yeah, absolutely. It got, you know, like my sister would say things. So for example, this is the night where so I got like depression and anxiety, not now, but like then. And this was the night when like I clearly remember it kicking off. So it must have happened. And my sister said she messaged my mom on Facebook. I don't know if she did, but she said that she messaged my mom on Facebook. And she said, oh, Darren's being like really bad, disrespectful, And my mom messaged her back saying, oh, like, what an ungrateful little, like...
shit.
Yeah, like, piece of shit he is. And like when like I heard her saying that to my nan because I could hear everything in it. That's when I was thinking like, what is this? Like, like I'm actually trying, like, so I walked out the house, and whilst I was walking down the road, that's when like literally an explosion of like memories and, things just started to come back to me, because from like year 7 till then, although I remembered what happened, it never came into my mind.
Yeah.
So like, for example, like if I said like, don't think about elephants, you think about elephants, innit? So like, that was the same thing. Like it just wouldn't leave my mind.
You suppressed it for you. It's there, it's there, but you leave it. But then everything just comes to the surface.
Exactly. So like, it felt like an explosion of just all memories, and I just started to remember like, So I've seen like, for example, like my mum do the whole injection stuff, but then the needle dislodge and go into her vein, and then she would have to go hospital, all that kind of bull. So
and that all came back to you, or stuff like that.
All that kind of stuff. So at this point, like I felt like really, really numb. Like when people say like when you're depressed, like you feel numb, I know what they mean. Like you actually feel numb. So for weeks and weeks after, going back home, having anxiety and depression, and hearing like the constant just BS that was being spoken, I became numb to it. But then it came to a toll when one day, like I was like, fuck this, like, so I wrote a note, the whole note, whatever. And I went to a train station, and I was like, I saw like the, like the billboard where it says like train arriving in 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
So I got there, and I saw a train saying like arriving in 8 minutes, and like as the time's going down, I was just thinking, okay, this is it, because I was ready to like jump in front of the train, right?
Fuck, you're not gonna get on it. You're gonna jump in front of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I wrote like the whole suicide note, all that, and this is why I say I got lucky in it. So wrote the whole note, and as the time's going down, I'm starting to feel like a bit of like inner peace. So at first, like, tears coming out my eyes and stuff. But then as it gets down to like 4 minutes, 3 minutes, I'm like, okay, this is it. And then on like 2 minutes, one of my friends from my college came, and just like that, like, imagine like, I went on like an off-peak time, because I knew like, I didn't want my people from college or anybody that I knew. But it just so happened that she missed the lesson that we was both supposed to be in. And she came at like 11 or something like that it was. And yeah, man, so she had no idea, you know what I'm saying? So she just came, and I was back to normal, innit? I was like just talking to her like...
So between everything that happened in the house and everybody kind of turning in on you and making you feel like, even you're trying, and they probably don't realise what it is you're doing, how much your heart is hurting, what you're trying to achieve by working, and then you finally leave that situation, and then all of this bubbles up, and you have then this kind of intense realization of everything that's come before to this point, to the point where you're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna, and then looking at the minutes coming down, and you've made this decision, you're gonna do it, and as the minutes are coming down, you're almost literally, you're going through your life.
Yeah, I'm like finding that like inner peace. I'm like, this is it, okay. Like I didn't feel numb at that point. I felt like I'm good. Like honestly, in my head, I was thinking like, this is it. Like this is a good thing that's happening right now. But yeah, man. Luckily, like my friend just appeared.
So she turns up and was like, "Hey, Darren," and then you kind of like, what?
Yeah, literally. Then it was like, okay, let's jump on the train and go college. I didn't even have my bag.
So
you know what I'm saying?
So is that moment pivotal in how you then dealt with your nan and that whole situation? Did you make some kind of peace in yourself, or what led on from there?
To be honest, it was the exact same stuff, right? So they didn't even know, of course, they didn't know that I had planned, I went to go do that. So the arguments and shouting continued for like weeks and weeks and weeks. the only thing that like stopped that really was I picked up a little job. So I was able to bring some money into the house, right? So I was doing like, at like 17, I was doing like some cleaning security, which was like 2-3 days a week in the night. So yeah, that kind of like stabilized the situation because I was able to give my nan a bit of money. So yeah, things went back to normal. But during that period of time, this is when I realized that like I was into politics. So I started to look at like the general election, the 2015 general election, and I looked at like some of the policies and And for me, my values best aligned with like the Labour Party. So I started to do like unofficial campaigning for like my local MP. She wasn't my MP at the time, but yeah, I started to like, you know, give out like leaflets and tell people I'll vote for Labour. Helen Hayes, her name
Helen
is.
Hayes, yeah, I've seen your stuff with her. Yeah, she's
Incredible woman.
Before we get going down that track, so
Yeah.
politics, what kind of awareness did you have of politics prior to this, and is it something that you've ever paid attention to? Was it just noise, like on the news, like it was for most young people?
Yeah.
And what is what makes you think, hang on a minute, you know, what can I do here? Can I get involved?
So from like a kid, I've always wanted to create change, right? So wanted to create change within my family, you know, bring us into like, take us out of that like poverty and crime lifestyle and, you know, just something normal, innit? But then also I wanted to change like my community, and then which led to me wanting to change like
the wider community.
Exactly. So that's when what really got me into politics was all I thought was like, how can I help as many people as possible? Because at this point, when I was 16, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. All I knew is I wanted to help people. But then, yeah, I just saw the general election question time and it was boring at first, but yeah, I started to watch it.
There's a lot to take in as a young person.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You see these old folks talking about, you know, what's best for the country.
So is that, you talk about Helen Hayes, what was it about her that inspired you and sort of caught your attention then?
So really, I'm not going to lie, at first it was just the fact that she was the candidate for the Labour Party. So I didn't know anything about her. But after doing like unofficial campaigning, because at this point I wasn't in the Labour Party, or I just joined, but I didn't do official campaigning. I went to celebratory drinks, and that was like a crucial, you know, when you have points in your life that are crucial, like deciding to go to them drinks was a crucial point in my life, because I went there and I introduced myself to her, and I was just like, hi Helen, like, you know, I'm Darren, I'm like a young person from your constituency, congratulations, and then at the end of the convo, I asked her if I could possibly get work experience in Parliament. And she said, yeah, sure. But because she was a new MP, she had to set up her office and all that kind of stuff. So she said, we'll pass your details on to her assistant. And I thought, oh, yeah, like that's done, innit? Like she's never going to get back in contact with me, But then like a month and a half down the line, she got back in contact and was like, hi Darren, like, would you like this work experience?
Oh, more power.
Yeah,
more
unbelievable,
power.
bro. So that's when like I had a work experience in Parliament. And when I tell you, like from being that kid, you know, being called like the chav and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, just...
The hell you've been through.
Yeah, see, it's like all that BS, yeah. Going into them doors, like that's when I thought like, wow, like I want to like, this is where I want to have a career. So it just felt like mad that a kid from their state like made it here, like, you know what I'm saying? Even though I didn't make it.
Oh yeah, but listen, you do make it, because every step is the journey. Every journey starts with one step, then the other step, the next step, and we keep moving. That's all we ever can do, you know. But all of those mornings that you got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get yourself to school on a bus that takes 3 hours, you know, when there's opportunities all around you to just fucking get on the gravy train and do mad
Exactly.
shit for quick money and a quick lifestyle and all of that, and you manage to, you know, that is that reward. You know, all those tiny moments manifest into something bigger if we believe and if we
Definitely.
stick with it. You know,
I agree with that 100%. Like, I feel like there was just a purpose, you know, like, I honestly feel like you know, whether it's, you know, my childhood, teenage years, being homeless or whatever it might be, all these things are just going to come into place for me. You know, I won't be able to be a politician in the future without these things happening to me. That's how I kind of feel. Like, you know, so that's why I always try and...
well, that's interesting, because as we move further into this conversation regarding politics and politicians, I think absolutely 100% we must have people who have experience like you, because the further we go into this new future, the divide between, you know, the upper class and the underclass is huge. And we need to have people who have an understanding and an engagement with what it is to be the common man.
Definitely.
You know, to create policies and to have an understanding and to try and shape things to suit, which is obviously what your endeavour is. So that drinks, that celebratory drinks thing, how did that come around? And what? Because I imagine I'm kind of thinking of similar situations in my life in the past where you kind of think there's an opportunity to do something, but it feels like way out of my depth. And,
trust.
oh God, people are going to fucking think, you know, what am I? Oh, you know, and I'm going to do it. And then you end up going to this place, and I imagine you're like, you know.
Like, yeah,
you know, you
being like the youngest person there, and
and I imagine as well, you knowing what you know about your background and where you're from, and knowing how people work, people are going to be looking at you as like, oh right, you know.
Like, I made sure. So normally, like, I'll wear like hoodies, and like every now and then I'll put on a shirt or something. But yeah, on this day, like, I definitely made sure like to wear a shirt. Like, I was just trying to look like as much like them as possible.
Represent, well, yeah, to try and take away, unfortunately, and it's fact.
The stereotyping,
It's
isn't
a
it?
fact, yeah. It doesn't, you know, it's not. We're not judging people because people make judgments based on archetypes and stereotypes. It's just what we do. You know, there's lots of people. We've got this much time, and we have to make split-second judgments, and most of them are wrong because they're happening so fast.
Exactly. Yeah.
So sometimes, you've got to play the game and you've got to do the thing.
Exactly.
See, when you're actually in there then and you make this... So how did you even know that was a thing? Was it like a thing that was promoted?
Yeah, because like I said, because I only just became like a member of the Labour Party, the email came through.
I see.
Yeah.
So you just thought, right, I'm going to do this. And then you got chatting to Helen that night. And what about anybody else? Did you make sort of base with anybody else?
Just her and her assistant.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, that's like, my eyes were just on them, like, you know, like, teach me.
Yeah, oh, cool.
You know,
and she was really nice and warm and
unbelievable,
endearing with you.
Yeah, definitely.
And then a couple of months go by, and you kind of, and then you get the email.
Yeah. So yeah, get the email, go in, and yeah, like I said, like, it's the thing is with Parliament, like, it's a bubble, you know. So when I went in there, like, I could tell, like, I was different, like,
yeah, for
you know,
sure,
like,
I imagine.
on a real, and just little things, you know, like, even the food they have in there is like, you know, it'll cost like £3, but like, if it was on the outside,
it'd be £33.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, how is it so cheap in here? Like, you know, but yeah, it was incredible. Like, it was only for a few days that first time, but like, I just wanted to build a relationship with Helen and like her team, and then yeah, did that. Went back into college, and college was still like, this is my last year now. Yeah, so
what are you studying at college, by the way, at this point?
Okay, so I started. So my college experience was 3 years. So my first year, I was doing some extra GCSEs for some reason. So even though I got the A stars to C at secondary,
you did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I got that. But when I went into college, for some reasons the points didn't add up, so I had to do like some more GCSEs to get enough points to do the A levels.
Okay.
So I was doing business GCSE, sociology GCSE, psychology A level, and I think community development. And yeah, community development. No, what was it? community development and like culture. And that's what I did the first year, just to get them extra GCSEs. And then in my second year, that's when I took on the sociology A-level, world development A-level, psychology, and also the communications and culture one.
Yeah.
A-level.
So you were working on a lot of stuff and working hard still at this point.
Yeah, working hard. It was when I was in college, I was working hard, but like it became difficult. Just the whole like routine and like, you know, like the routine like killed me, innit? Waking up at them times and doing that.
Yeah.
So in my third year, with what was going on at home and stuff, like I did drop off quite a lot, and it got to a point where I was like feeling so anxious and like depressed that I wouldn't even go college. So in my final year, I literally didn't do the exams for like some of the things. So them A levels, like I flunked basically. The ASs were good, but the A2 part was bad. And it's sad because, you know, like two people, like, you know, they will read them grades and they'll think that's what you are kind of thing, you know, but they don't know the situation that happened during that period of time.
That's why things like this are great podcasts, because you get to understand what people are about, you know, and necessarily it's not always about the grade and I can achieve this and I can achieve that. You know, I think more than ever now, one of the things that we are seeing, I think, is the utility in people. You know, like sometimes the bit of paper is great, but actually the values in a person's character.
100%.
You know, that's something I'm really, you know, our kids came out of school last year and I was doing a lot of study on like shit, you know, what we've done, you know, because if you don't get the bit of paper, you're not going to have a life.
Yeah.
And that's true in many, not to say you won't have a life, but you maybe not be able to get on that train to go in that direction because you need the bit of paper. But then I realised, all right, well, if we do end up going in that direction, you can do it anyway. Because if one of my kids turns out he wants to do physics, you know, and he needs maths at this and that, that's what he'll go and do. He doesn't have to be 8 hours a day in this place doing that. We can work it out, and that'll give me a lot of peace. But the most important thing, I think, with anything is, and I said it earlier, like I keep coming back to this underpinning of like respect, hard work, ownership, responsibility. You know, a lot of the things that Jordan Peterson, somebody I talk about quite a lot, you know, because he helped me as a young man sort of establish a little bit of responsibility for myself and stop wagging my finger at everything else and actually say, hang on a minute, you know, what can I change, as you are saying?
Exactly. So
yeah, I think a podcast, you know, or any kind of long form conversation, you do get to see what a character is about.
Exactly. And that's why I'm so grateful to be here today, because you know, I'm not saying that I'm going to be a politician tomorrow or something. This is like 10 years down the line, but you know, in 10 years people will be able to like look back on this and be like, this is who this person was, you know, because I don't want people to just think I'm just, I don't know, just generic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm actually here, like I do want to help people.
But the fact that you're talking such long term, and you know, we're sat here today saying this might be 10 years, but we're already 8 years in to you having, you know, you're having these thoughts when you're a kid.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you've been through thick and thin, and you're staying on the track. So when you've sort of established a bit of a relationship and you're in Parliament, what's that like then the first time? I mean, you're seeing the food, and that's mad, isn't it? Those little things like how we think, hang on a minute, these people have got loads of money in here and they've got this great food and it's even cheaper. Like,
it's mad, isn't it?
What's going on?
So when I was in there, I was just trying to like break down the barriers and like, you know, for example, not necessarily when I was in there, but I've been in meetings with politicians where they'll look at you and they'll start talking to you with like a bit of slang or something.
To try and beat down, you know, and hit with you.
Yeah, not just that, but like it's just that they think that that's how they have to talk to you.
Of course, yeah.
And then like when they talk to like someone next to you who's older, they turn back into that professional.
Yeah.
I'm just like, nah, man, like I'm professional as well, bro. Like what's going on?
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's just a learning process. Like yeah, just.
And what were people like generally? Did you get like what was people's authentic energy like with you? Obviously, we just said it ourselves. You just said it. You know, you put a shirt on that night because we're all trying to be the thing that we think we need to be to fit whatever the moment is. So we are all doing that.
Yeah.
But what was the genuine kind of, did you feel like a warmth from people?
The people in like Helen's office, I did from them because they knew me like from outside of Parliament, like because at this point like I started to volunteer like leafleting and stuff like that. So they like were completely genuine and everything, and but certain other people, you know, some people think like I can be like I look quite aggressive and stuff like that, you know, like having like the slit stuff in their eyes and da 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 da. But for me, like I do this because first I like doing it, but then also like just to break down them barriers, like you know, get to talk to the person.
I love that. I love that. I love that because, again, this is something that I believe strongly, and again, I take it from you, Aidan. I think young people, especially, we must be who we are. We don't have to be an archetype like down to the stitch. You know, and actually a lot of politicians who may or may not watch this, you know, you learn so much about our own judgments, you know, because what you've got to offer a world with the experiences that you've already had in your young life, because you are a compassionate and empathetic person, the fact that you've been through such trauma and traumatic events, that lends so much to your ability to be compassionate. Now, further down the line within politics, I'm not sure how much of that gets just fucking lost in this structure, in this system. But I think, we've got to embrace people as they are. It seems like we're at a moment in time with social media and all these different movements of everybody's accepting everything and everybody. So hopefully we can do that. And, you know, not every politician has to just be sort of just so rigidly set into this archetype that, you know, if they say a one word wrong, then you know we've got to let that grow. Trust.
And you know, like for me, like coming on here, like if I can like inspire like someone from like an estate, or not even a state, like just someone who that just cares, innit, like and has like life experience and like, you know, has been like through quite a bit of like shit and stuff like that. Like if I can inspire them to like maybe get involved in politics and maybe have that kind of career path, then that's what it's all about, you know, because I honestly do feel like we need more people. Like, I don't want to say myself here because that's quite big-headed, you know what I'm saying? But like,
no, but I know what you mean. You're representing a class of people, you know, a whole.
That's what I meant,
you know, a class of young people that are
underrepresented.
Yeah, you know, underrepresented and discriminated against as well, you know. Yeah, massively. You're as we sit here today then, well, no, in fact, let's stay with where we were at Parliament, you know. How did you start integrating yourself into the life of politics then? Is there different things that are there for young people to integrate into? Is there like different...
So after doing the work experience in Parliament, when I went back into college, I ran to be governor of my college, just to like help with like certain things, And that was a real insight because that was the first time that I had to set up a whole campaign and give speeches, and you know, I'd have like campaigns saying for King Governor, vote Keenan, and have like little badges and do things like that.
I bet that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really fun.
How did it go?
I won, innit? I became governor, So that was cool because you know, you started to like, it was just a learning process, sitting in on the meetings and looking at the documents, and you know, at the time they were trying to get like £12 million worth of funding to redo the college from Boris Johnson. He was mayor of London at the time. Yeah. So it was just cool sitting in on that. And then you know, like I said, coming up to election hustings, I started to ask questions to like Vince Cable, because he was the MP for Twickenham, and I just got more involved. But then it came to a point where college finished, and like I said, I didn't do well
in the last year.
Yeah, so I honestly didn't know what to do. I was like, I can't go uni because I literally had no idea what to do. I went in there, picked up my results, and left. Like, didn't have no idea. But then the Helen Hayes, she's the patron of a social justice fellowship program called the Advocacy Academy, and she just suggested it to me, and that changed my life as well. you know. So she put me in contact with the woman called Amelia, and incredible woman. And I went to go meet her for the first time. I shook her hand and she said like, "No, we have to do that again." Just like that. I was like, "What?" Like, it was such a shock to me. And she was like, "No, give me like a firm grip." I was like, "Okay." You know what I'm saying? And
brilliant.
Yeah, man. Like she taught me like a lot, like just little things like that, but then also big things, you know. And yeah, so I went on the Advocacy Academy program, and basically what it is a 8-month social justice fellowship for 17 to like 19-year-olds in South London who want to create change. So for the first 10-day residential, at the end of it, you go to Parliament and give a speech. So like for me, that was like, oh my God, like considering the fact that like, you know, that's where I want to have my career. That's what I want to do, like give a speech in Parliament. I was like over the moon. And the people that I was on the program with were incredible young people as well, you know. Like on the first night, I remember it so vividly because like I said, it was the first time that I told anyone about my past.
Okay.
So this is when I'm 19.
Yep.
So it's first time. So we're sitting in a circle and it's going around and each person's telling everyone about themselves and like, you know, kind of like gotten like in depth about like, you know, the struggles and stuff that they might be facing and what they're trying to campaign against. And it got to me and like I felt so comfortable for some reason. Like it was just incredible feeling that I just told the people in it. And from that moment on, like over time, I started to get more and more comfortable and started to understand that, you know, I shouldn't feel ashamed about my past. And that's when I tried to start inspiring people. And then on the last day we did our speeches in Parliament, and yeah, that was incredible. Like, unfortunately, like, so I asked my nan if she could come because to me it was like a big thing, innit? And she said yeah, but then like, you know, like a day or two before, she said like, no, like I can't do it. So I was like,
was there a reason why, or was it?
She wasn't on it.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So I asked one of my friends in it. My friend came, so that was cool. And then yeah, as the year went on, I was just working on campaigns. Started to learn more about the campaigning, like campaigning, and you know all the ins and outs and how to win a campaign. And
was all of that stuff anything like you anticipated it might be?
No, not at all. So man, like we learned so much during that period of time that it was mad. Like when I tell you, I felt like I was telling my friend, like, so after the residential, must have went back with my group of friends, yeah, and was like, oh guys, like, you know, I was doing meditating, and they're like, what? I'm like, come, should we do it? So like, we'll just be sitting there, like 3-4 guys, just sitting there, like, breathe in. Like,
I love that.
You know what I'm saying?
I love that.
It was.
I love that.
Yeah.
Anything goes, you know, to be that comfortable to, you know, we laugh and we joke.
Yeah.
But like to be that comfortable to give these things a shot, man, and
definitely,
that's where it's at.
Yeah. So
that's
like
freedom, that.
Trust. So like everything that I learned from the Advocacy Academy, whether that's like topics on like FGM or, you know, child sexual exploitation or anything it might be, I'll go back after the residentials to like my group of friends, and like, you know, just be teaching them on it, and you know.
So you integrate it into your life anyway, as much as you know, going out into the future to campaign this stuff. You're doing it now in your community anyway.
Exactly. So yeah, man. So that's what happened, and then I started to. So first I was working on a campaign to end unpaid internships, because I saw, like, you know, a lot of wealthy young people, they can do like these unpaid internships because they don't have to worry about finances and which give them like more opportunities than someone else. So I was like, all internships should be paid. So I did that campaign, and it got to Parliament, and they debated it and they voted on it, but they voted against it. I was like, shit, like, I don't really know what to do from here. But then I started to pick up on a housing campaign, and like a group of us, like 5 to 10 at first, like all young 18-year-olds, started this housing campaign, CLT housing. And it was a long process, but like we're slowly, well, not even slowly, like we're getting there, you know, like we pin questions. So to start off, because the politicians won't listen to like young people, innit? So what we did was we printed posters, got photos with a lot of people, and made a little video and sent it to the leader of the Lambeth Council. And then from there, that was the point of contact. And then we slowly built relationships with them. And like over years, it came to a point where Sadiq Khan granted us £3.7 million worth of land to like build these CLT houses on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like so
That's amazing. That must be a hell of a lift.
yeah, it was real. Like the night that we was pinning the questions on the, so basically it got to a point where we assembled an assembly of like 500, 600 people, and we had the politicians from each party, because it was coming up to the elections, and we started pinning questions on them. So I was asking the politicians, like, no, like, give us a yes or no answer. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So,
a fucking difficult job with a politician.
Yeah, trust. But I wasn't going without it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted a yes or no answer from them.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they each gave their answers, and they were like, yes. So we was like, cool, bless. So after that, that's when, you know, things progressed and we got the land.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so then your appetite and your excitement, your enthusiasm, and I guess your aspirations, they grow more. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Every single time I give a speech, whether that's at a school or an assembly or whatever it might be, I'm always critical of myself. So
Okay.
I'm always asking, like, okay, what could I have done better? And like, as the years have gone on, the improvement has been like, you know, big, innit? Like, so when I went to my first meeting with politicians, there was a lot of things. So I went to a meeting with what's his name? Sam Bailey,
Right.
the Conservative guy that was running for mayor
Okay.
of London. Sean Bailey, sorry.
Sean Bailey.
Yeah, Sean Bailey. He was the first politician that I went to have a meeting with, and I'm not gonna lie, he was the one who was like being quite patronising.
Yep.
So after that meeting, that's when I started to learn, okay, I need to impart myself on this and like show them, like, nah, just because I'm a teenager doesn't mean like I'm not involved, I'm not, you know what I'm saying?
Equipped.
You know
to
what I'm
do
saying?
this.
Like, talk
Yeah.
to me properly, like, let's talk business, like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So
yeah.
as the years went on, like, these little things like have like helped me develop into like being able to talk at like
Do you get any kind of like formal guidance with that? Is there any kind of training where
Yeah.
you sort of taught the cues and the do's and don'ts and stuff like that?
Yeah, so on the Advocacy Academy, Amelia, like, she taught us all these little things, right? So whether it's like giving a speech, so when I was on the first residential, on the last day, we got like a speech tutor in to help us like deliver our speeches, and yeah, man, like, that's when I started to learn little things, like, you know, putting like a break and so that
Let things breathe.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Flow and
yeah, and like when you talk, like, you might think that you're sounding like slow and steady, but really you're talking fast, and
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
it's little things, little things, and but over time they build up and help you develop as a person.
Well, that piece that you did on the Almeida thing, it's like 6-minute dialogue you did.
Yeah.
Did
you were
you-
able to break the label.
That's it, yeah. So did you write that then? Did you?
Yeah.
How much time did you spend writing that? I'll link that in
not-
as well at the bottom of this podcast.
Not that long, because a lot of that speech was components of like different speeches I've given.
Okay, so you sort of amalgamated it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you really, you know, they did a great job of filming that as well. It looks
Definitely.
great. It really
Yeah.
does look good, and you deliver it well. And I like that you go into you take it into spoken word at the end there, and it's always poignant when you're saying something with such depth, you know, and you bring it home like that.
Definitely. Like it was a great experience, but it was easy as well because the actual speech was on the camera.
Okay, so you're taking it. So you're a proper
like
politician.
yeah, as they do. So it wasn't like I had to remember
watching
it.
Boris doing his COVID things like that, and green, blue, advanced, dangerous,
Yeah.
You just see, I mean, God, yeah. But so as you are sort of going through these gears, then, and do you feel like you're making a foothold? Do you feel like this long-term plan that you've got as you move toward it, are you feeling like that you know step by step you're going closer
climbing
to
the ladder?
Yeah,
absolutely. Like so although like being a politician is like the end goal, an MP is an end goal, after university, like I want to work for like a large like NGO like Save the Children or campaigning organization, and possibly like put out a book. So these are like the careers that I want to get into straight after university. But then I feel like I'm building like bridges in like with like, because the thing is like a lot of it is just building relationships, and that helps you like get up the ladder. So yeah, I was like youth officer for my constituency and things like that. But then after doing that, we must not brush past the fact that earlier in this conversation, you said when you were a kid, you had a dream and aspiration to go to university. You're at university. Yeah, man.
Yes.
Yeah, it was it's crazy because literally, it was crazy because I always knew that I was gonna get here at one point, but I never knew when. So I'm 24 now, so like, people normally go to university when they're 18. But in my opinion, like I just wanted to gain experience in the field before I did that. So it was crazy because my mate drove us up here, and like he knows like the struggle in it that I've been through and So like when we just unpacked all my stuff and walked around the city and stuff like that, and when he was ready to leave, like we just sat in the car and like you won't be ashamed to say it, but like you just burst out in tears kind of thing.
Oh, I love that.
I'm saying?
I fucking love that.
It's quite funny, isn't it?
No,
but
I love that. It's man. I mean, listen, a lot
tears of joy, man.
Yeah, a lot of what we've not really touched on today because we're talking family and sort of the political side of things, but a big part of young lads, which is why I love your story, because you could have quite easily, in the area you're from, the background you're from, you could have quite easily just slipped into the same old.
Become another statistic.
Exactly. And so much of that culture amongst friends, and this is what I loved when you said earlier about having a really good group of friends, who aren't goading each other to do another job, to take someone out, to fucking let's get a piece and let's do this and let's get some quick money. That's such an amazing thing. And I think boys embracing sensitivities together is fucking powerful, man. I don't give a shit what anybody says. But no, boys do cry, and if you're crying because you fucking made it through some nightmare situation to something that's going to nourish your future, your kids' future, just your fucking soul, celebrate that shit.
Trust me. And yeah, man, that was the first time that I felt proud before, like doing a speech in Parliament and things like that. I felt proud, but yeah, this was like a different kind of pride because, like you said, it was something that I've wanted from a kid.
So what are you studying? And you're over at Leicester?
Not far DMU.
From us,
So community development and youth work.
Yeah.
So it's basically literally what I've been doing. So like a lot of social justice stuff. And the reason why I chose that is because although like I want to get into politics, I asked like my local MP and Amelia and stuff about like the course and whether it would be good, and she said yes, like that's calm, like I'll be all right, because working in Parliament, the only thing they wanted to see was like the process. So it didn't really matter what degree I got. It was just that when you go to university, the process around like studying, doing the research, that's what they want you to implement into being a researcher in Parliament and stuff like that.
And what about, so you obviously, I imagine, working, doing jobs as well, and sort of trying to bring in money alongside. So are you strategically picking jobs that are going to give you kinds of experiences that you think are going to be useful, or are you just taking jobs that come? How does that work?
So before I came uni.
Yeah. And why, are you doing any work while you're at uni as well?
Yeah, so I've only just recently picked up like a little bit of bar work. because I need money.
Of course.
But,
yeah, well, the world's been fucking tits up for
you know
a
what I'm
year.
saying?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so, right now I'm doing a little bit of bar work. But before this, I did so this is like one of the proudest moments of my life so far. Basically, coming out of the Advocacy Academy, I didn't really know what to do, kind of thing. And Amelia suggested a paid internship with 38 Degrees. It's a online petition campaigning organization, right? And I applied and I went to the interview, and when I tell you, everybody there had graduated from like Edinburgh, Oxford, just everyone was older than me, like it was serious, innit? And I went there, and first time around, I actually didn't get it, right? But I did like such a good apparently interview and stuff that the CEO of the organisation said, okay, we want to sponsor you. So they paid 3.5 grand for me to do another social justice fellowship called Campaign Boot Camp. And I did that. And then I did Citizens UK campaigning training. And with the Advocacy Academy and everything, when I went back around the next time, the year later, to apply for the same thing, the campaigning experience that I had meant that it was good enough to outdo the people who graduated.
Yeah, awesome.
So that was a weird experience because at that point, that's when I was I can still compete with these people who've got the degree and stuff like that. And I went to work there, but the sad thing was, even though it's so disappointing, so disappointing, but this was the best job I ever had, right? But just when I found out, a few months before, that's when I was basically a few months before, that's when I found out my dad's situation and
okay,
his
so
well-being.
So let's just recap quickly then. So when we left your dad, your dad had checked out of the particular hostel he was in. They couldn't give you any details. He'd gone, you're a young adult, you get expelled from school, you go through that turmoil that a lot of young adults do. You have the moment where you're going to throw yourself in front of the train, but you come around and you hit this trail with the politics. Have you spoken to your dad in any of that time?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
So I completely didn't see him, and it hurt because, as I said, that's why I'm trying to make him proud and stuff.
And you're doing stuff at this point where it's coming to fruition.
Exactly. But then I finished the campaign boot camp training, and when I came back, my nan said that social services was able to track down my dad, and that's when they told me that he had dementia, and that he was living in a care home, and that's the worst, man. That was the absolute worst when I found that out, because as soon as I found that out, basically I was on the way to go do leafleting. So I think this was during the EU referendum. So I was doing leafleting and stuff. And when I left my house, I was just okay, man, cool. Yeah, I just broke down for 5 minutes, man, before I went to go do the stuff. And it stuck with me. And then during that summer, I didn't go visit my dad, but it was constantly playing on my mind. And I then did the BBC programme, and as part of that, I told them about my dad and they wanted to get some footage as well. So that was the first time that I went to go visit my dad, and they didn't pull it in the part, but I went to go visit my dad, and I started crying, man, because he can't have a conversation with me. He doesn't really recognize who I am anymore. And the fact that I'm trying to do all this for him, kind of thing, to make him proud, the fact that he doesn't know who I am anymore, it kind of sucks, innit?
That's such a...
Because he's a good man as well, he is a really, really good person, but like.
So those signs that you started to recognise, you know, when your sister's boyfriend said, he's drunk and this and the other, you kind of twigged something was not quite right.
Yeah, it's literally the dementia. Like he was just forgetting things. But my sister's boyfriend thought that he was drunk, and
but it's not until many years later when you just going about your life trying to, and then right, by the way, your dad's around and fuck, and then you said you're doing this is when you're doing the documentary with BBC.
Yeah.
And they're sort of like, well, let's get your dad, and then that's when you actually see him the first time. Yeah. And you walk in and like he can't recognise you.
Yeah, like kind of like a shell of who he was, innit? Like you can't really talk, have conversations. So yeah, I walked in there, yeah, and I was just like, it was.
And how is that now, Darren? Do you still see him? Do you
every now and then, but like not to the point, not the amount that I want to. But it just hurts so much, like I can't tell you. Like it hurts. But yeah, so yeah, and then like when I found out about his situation, that's when I got the job. So then I had the job and I was like, I feel good about the job, but then because of like what he was going through, I started to then think about Stuart. Right. And I was like the hatred and like anger I had towards him because he broke up this family and Yeah. So it got to a point where I was doing the work and the people who worked at the organisation was fantastic. Like my line manager understood what I was going through, and you know, she tried to like as much as she possibly could to like help me, but there was no helping me during that period of time. Like I honestly felt like when I woke up in the morning, there was like 200 kg on my chest. Like I couldn't get up. Like, you know, the feelings I was having. Like when I tell you, I'm not a violent person, right? But during that period of time, I was scared to go North London because I thought like if I see him,
Stuart.
Yeah, if I see Stuart,
you're not going to be able to stop yourself.
I would literally kill him. Like literally, like I would literally have like visions in my head of me, like, you know, stamping on his head, like just killing him and just waiting for the police to come get me.
All of that pain and all of that hurt and all of that disruption and damage just.
Exactly. So, you know, so I'm like going through this kind of like thought processes and like, you know, this kind of situation in my head and no one really knows about it. And then as the months go on, to like take my mind off it, I was doing like stupid things, you know. So like on the weekends, just going mad with the partying, and because this paid internship. So I forgot to say, but it was a paid internship, and the money that I was getting was more than I ever had before in it. It was good. So during that period of time, like I was just helping people. Like so, my friend, for example. My closest mate, all these years beforehand, when I said that I was broke, he was the one who would like pay, like if he was going into a chicken and chip shop, he'll buy it for me. If he was going to like a party, he'll buy the drinks for me. Like
just take care of you.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like when I had the money, I was like, bro, like I got you in it. So at his university, like it's like £250 to join the like a sports team, which is like. That's a bit, you know what I'm saying? That's a lot, innit? Yeah. But that's what it's like at his uni. So I was like to him, bro, like, don't watch that. So what I did was I said, bruv, let's go Nando's, innit? Went Nando's and I gave him 2 cards. And I said, bruv, like, one of them has like £250 in it. The other one has nothing. And like, told him to pick. And like an idiot, he picked the one with nothing in it. So like an idiot. But yeah, man, I gave him that money in it because it was the least I could do for him. And then, yeah, during that period of time, like I was helping my nan, helping my sister.
You had something for the first time.
Exactly.
And you already given it away.
Yeah. I like, because that's how I thought. Like, I was like, when I make money, like, I'm going to help people. So then, and like, for some reason, it was crazy, yeah, but my second, so the sister that I lived with when I was a kid and stuff that ran away, she came round for that Christmas, and so did my little sister and nieces and nephews and stuff like that. So I was giving out the money in it. I was like, here, take that. Like, they were like, are you sure? I'm like, it's calm, don't watch that. So yeah, man, I was trying to help people. But then that's when I found out that Stuart had died. Like he passed away in it, and like just like that anger and hate and stuff that I was feeling went away.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Did it really? And what about your mum?
I didn't, at that point, I didn't find out. So when I was living with my nan, my mum came to visit like 4 times. So like between like the age of 10 till 23, she came to visit like 4 times.
Jesus Christ.
But when she came around, like I saw like she wasn't in a good place, you know? And for example, the first time she came around, I was so excited, and I was like, oh my God, my mum, like da-da-da. So I went into my bedroom to like go get like certificates that I had and stuff. And before like I came out, she left with like some money in it. So I was like, oh, like, what's going on? So yeah, that hurt. And then like each time I saw her, there was like deterioration in her. And my elder sister, she really doesn't like my mum. So whenever my mum came around, there would be arguments. I was like, you know, so it would be just dead. It would be rubbish.
So your mum's, bless her, is not really compass mentis with your achievements and not able to kind of really absorb what you've attained at this point in the journey you've been on.
Yeah, but literally recently, like within like the last month and a half, I've been able to like get a phone number of hers. So I've spoken to her like a few times on the phone.
How's that been, Darren?
Oh, mad. It's been crazy, you know? Like, it's just weird. It's just a weird feeling talking to my mum. Like, you know, like, I love my mum. Like, I can't.
How is she on the phone?
She's proud. She's proud. But I know her situation right now still isn't good. But
was she still with Stuart then when he passed away? Did that?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. All I know is that he passed away. But
and you had that feeling lift from you.
Yeah, that anger that I had for him, like it left. It left me. But I forgot to say also, my godfather, who like I forgot to say, but my godfather, who like incredible man. During that period of time when I was like, you know, feeling really down, suicidal, whatever it might be, I didn't have his contact details, so I went to the pub that he would always go to, and I asked around for him. And so the bartender said, oh, like he passed away like a few years ago. Oh. So like that's where I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Just walked out the pub, and then like on the way back home, I was just like, I couldn't say like, you know, thank you or bye or anything to him. And this man helped us so much.
This it's a fucking lot of tragedy you're dealing with, young man, and that I want to say at least, you're managing to kind of reshape it and push out positive force in a way that I don't even know that most of us can even manage.
I don't know.
You know, like, it's inspiring, Darren. It really, really is.
I always say like, because my friends say like similar thing, like, oh, Darren, you're so strong, da da da. But I don't see it as that. I just see it as like, if I didn't go through it, someone else might be going through it. Like this is just to get me through it. Yeah, this is how I think. I'll be like, I'm going through it to like, so that someone else doesn't have to go through it, because I know that I can take it. If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
No,
and I think that's the coal on the fire. That's the fuel that's going to project you into everything that you want to attain, because there's a truth to you. There's a, like I said before, there's that willingness to, you know, whether you're 8-year-old and you're getting yourself to school, or whether you're, you know, 15 years old and you're doing fucking 3 hours one way, 12, 15-hour days, 3 hours back, you know, there's a determination and a willingness to be accountable for yourself in spite of these crazy circumstances, and then to number one, start to mature anyway and start to become your own man. As you get into your early 20s, you start to develop into the person that you are. You're not just now operating on the rules and the values of all these adults around you, however sporadic they are. You're also actually achieving these things that you've set out to do. You've educated yourself. Yeah, you dropped off in college, but you stayed on the train. You're still doing the things. You're still moving and shaking, making things happen, going into these places where probably lots of your friends are like, what? You were where? You were, like, what? And you've been doing that, you've stuck with it. And then you arrive at a point, like I say, you're a younger man, and you've got these achievements. You want to show your mum these certificates, but then these people in your life, these poignant people, you don't get, it's like almost like it's happening again in a weird way for you, because your dad, as you say, he's not there. He's there, but he's not there. Your godfather who you respect and looked up to, he's not there. Sounds positive with your mum. That sounds really cool that your mum's talking, but it's almost like this is another stage of you've got to climb again,
100%. Like, I don't know, anything, I have to say this, anything that I become that's positive, when I tell you it's down to my dad, Amelia, and my godfather, like, anything I become is because of my dad, and like, because of the life that he's had, and the hardships, and the fact that no one knows what a legend he is. Whatever I become, it's not me, it's my dad. That's how I kind of see it.
You're carrying that torch.
Yeah, 100%. Like, his legacy will live on through me, kind of thing. And people will know what an amazing person he was because what I'm doing, kind of thing.
And this is where something that I've tried to do in my life, and you've mentioned it a few times, you've alluded to the future when you have your own children, all of this stuff, all of this pain, all of this trauma, all this experience, it's all gonna, for you anyway, I see it in you. I mean, some of us repeat the patterns. I've not lived a life nearly as difficult as yours, but difficult in a different way for me, broken family, lies, deceptions, abuse and things like that. And I just knew, I'm going to create a different world for my kids.
Exactly.
100%. If there's anything I take away from all of that stuff, it's that I should be grateful for it in a weird way, because I know now what I want to do and what I must do and what I need to do, and there's days when you're real sad because you think, like I said to you earlier, how sad it is when we realise everybody's missing out. It's not just your nan having a pop at you because of whatever, she needs some money. It's like this whole unit is like, we're not in harmony, we're not in sync, we are all on the same page, we're all trying to survive, we're all part of this together. And we're all battling each other and making it harder individually for ourselves. And that's such a sad thing because we all miss out. But somebody like you who's on the course you're on, determined, through your own hard work and determination and willingness to grow and learn and be responsible for yourself, you're going to create a wonderful future.
Thank you, man.
And I fucking hope to... God, and I'm sure we're going to see more and more of you. You're already making a splash. And that's because you're grafting. Grafting, you're doing the work, you're putting yourself, you're building the relationships, as you've said.
And I feel like, I don't know, I'm not religious, but I just feel like there's just a higher being or something that's just helping me, like, for example, like, when I told you about, like, my friend just popping up, like, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her. And then there was another occasion, so, how do I explain this? So, when I was, like, 18, 19, or just after I did the 38 degrees paid internship, or after I got let go, because they had to let me go because I was just all over the place, man. Basically, I was trying to, like, just help with, like, campaigning and stuff and try and find little jobs, things like that. And whilst this was going on, fraud was getting done on my nan's card. So, like, money was getting taken out of my nan's account, and my oldest sister, she was throwing around allegations like mad, innit? So she was saying, it must be like my little brother. And then, like, when it wasn't like my little brother and stuff, like, she was like, it must be Darren, like, it has to be Darren. And I was just like, how are you saying it's me when I'm giving money? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I literally gave her, like, I can't remember if it was 200. No, I think my nan gave her 100 and I gave her 100 so that she could do her exams. But she spent the money on her boyfriend. You know what I'm saying? So
this is your older sister who's throwing. Yeah,
like
okay.
I'm not gonna be around the bush. Like me and her, like we don't have a good relationship. So she was making these allegations and stuff like that, and it got to a point where I couldn't take it again, right? Like, because the arguments and stuff were just mad. So like I decided, like, nah, this is it, kind of thing again. And imagine
So you've had the internship where you had the money, you were helping people, you were on the tracks, but you've had the call about your dad, and your godfather as well.
My godfather I knew about like a few years earlier.
Okay, but the impact with your dad and all that stuff, and you just lost your way with the internships. It's like almost like imposter syndrome almost. Like you've created this thing where I'm here, and somehow externally or internally it sabotages in your behaviour and your ability to just cope with situations. Just all happens at the wrong time.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
so you're low again. You're real low.
Yeah, and it got to a point where I was gonna do the deed, and my phone was broken, right? So this time, like, so this is when I knew Amelia. So I wanted to like tell Amelia, like, thank you, innit? I didn't want to do anything and not be able to sell her. Like, I'm so grateful for how you helped me. But my phone was broken, like completely broken, right? Like, it wasn't completely, but I couldn't see the names that came up. I couldn't swipe to answer calls, anything like that. It wouldn't vibrate. The ringtone wouldn't happen. It was completely broken. So the way how I got in contact with her was I emailed her on my Xbox, like on the email thing. So I emailed her, like goodbye, blah, blah, blah. And sent it. And as I was walking, so I was going to like jump off Westminster Bridge. That's what I was going to do. And as I was walking like there, I started to, I was just like thinking about life, But then for some reason, I looked down at my phone, like just randomly looked down because my phone wasn't vibrating or anything. And I saw that someone was calling me. Couldn't see who was calling me. And I'm swiping, trying to like unlock the phone because it was broke. And it finally happened. And then that's when Amelia was on the phone and she was like, Darren, like, where are you? Broke down. But like, it's mad, isn't it? Because, like, my phone was completely broke. And like the fact that I was able to get through to her.
So do you think there was part of you when you got that message to her that needed somebody to know what your intention was?
I just wanted to.
Or did you just want to thank her?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank her. Like, I was ready to go in it. Like, I felt.
So it's mad because as we sit here today, like, and I mean, we've exchanged on Instagram and stuff. But and this is another thing I always try and get back to in this modern day and age. When you sit with somebody, when you're in front of a human being and you feel the cues, the intonation, the emotion, something that's getting lost in the way we communicate now, which is something you're going to have to contend with in the future when you're trying to be helping society get back in order. Communication, which you've talked a lot about. You've talked about building relationships. That's something we need to get back to this.
Definitely.
People in front of people, not fucking 20,000 people said this on fucking Instagram. No, people. Because this is when you feel, and as I'm sat with you now, and I'm sure it's the case often, but like, I'm trying to imagine you at that low point, you've got such a buoyancy about you.
Yeah.
It's difficult to imagine you sort of like, no, fuck, but then fucking what do I know, man? You've been through stuff that I can't even imagine.
I don't know, I'm buoyant now and everything, right? But like when I was in them family situations, like around family, like I wasn't this, like I wouldn't talk.
Subdued into
like I wouldn't even sit in. So for example, like if everyone was in like the kitchen or something and everyone's sitting down talking, I wouldn't sit down. Like I would make sure that like I'm standing next to one of the doors. Like I felt like, you know what I'm saying? Like it just felt really disconnected. But yeah. So when she called me, I told her like quickly, like, oh, Amelia, my phone might die, like, it doesn't work, and she was like, oh, Darren, like, make sure you meet me tomorrow at this cafe, and then she was like, make sure you're there, Darren, like, don't let me hear anything's happened to you, And I went to go see her, and basically what was stressing me out during that time was like my nan and my older sister was like really getting on to me about money and like paying rent and da-da-da. So Amelia like said like, here, like, let me cover that for you this month, and she paid my rent. Yeah. And she also got me this case. You know what I'm saying? So that my phone didn't break. So
more power, Amelia. That's lovely. And so I imagine she's still part of your life today. She's still part of, like, a mentor, if you like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't talk to her like all the time or that often, but
you don't need to, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that bond's built, isn't it? You know?
100%.
That's beautiful. I mean, it's lovely for her as well. So as we sit here today then, Darren, what is the venture for you now? Obviously, you've just done your first year at uni. You've picked up a bit of bar work. The world's been upside down. As a young politician looking to the future, I mean, you must think, fuck me, there's a lot to work out here. Because the way that we're communicating, as I just alluded to, is changing. The way we communicate is not only changing the individual relationships, the internal kind of the remapping of our brains literally has been shown. You know, we're remapping how we think based on the real world interactions we're having against this digital realm we're going into. It seems like a lot of policy that's happening at the moment is driving us towards digital realm more and more and more, whether it's your vaccine passport or application for this, you know, everything's being driven down into, and I get it, you know, everything's really, it's on a database and it's really convenient, and it's, as a young person looking at politics in the future, you know, what are some of the key things that you think you're going to have to sort of dig into?
One for sure being like, you know, the communication and stuff, because as you said, like, you know, with everything becoming like digital, and especially over the last year, like, I feel like a lot of people have like lost that ability to like communicate face to face, and like have become like less social. So yeah. Sorry, I can't remember what you.
Oh, it's a big question. It was loaded. So, as a young person looking forward into the future, you know, and as you've said, maybe it's 10 years down the line, but I'm sure with the mind that you've got, and anybody who's thinking about, I mean, me just keeping my eye on politics just because I've got kids. I don't want to get bogged down in policy and bogged down in, you know, the Labour say this. You know, to me, it all feels, and we chatted a little bit in the car on the way here. To me, it feels like an archaic system that is way outdated by the culture. And on the one hand, we're trying to shoehorn all this technology into policy, but actually, as we've discussed, people from the people, somehow representing the people, that's what's missing for me. Definitely. And as we look forward to the future, as a young person like yourself looking at it, you know, what are some of the other key things that you think, you know, we're going to have to work on to somehow get back to, I don't know.
Well, one thing for sure is like services around mental health, you know, like there's definitely like not enough things being done. Like when you think about like the number one killer of men under 45 or something, it's like suicide. Yeah. It's like what the fuck? Like what's up with that? And then
which a lot of that is linked to money, a lot of money issues and finance, and men carrying the can for, you know, providing, and all of the.
I haven't even told you like when I became homeless. Right. I forgot. Yeah, sorry. That's like before. Okay.
Go on.
Oh yeah. So it must have. So I picked up a job in a hospital as a porter.
So what period would we be in now? Were you?
So this is when I'm 22, 23.
So this is in the last couple of years then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a porter at King's College Hospital, and it's that job in itself is like crazy, innit? The things that I've seen.
Oh, I imagine, yeah.
It's bad, man.
Do you get any mental health kind of?
Yeah, all the time. So for example, okay, let me explain like that job and things I saw. So on the 5th week that I was working there, so you have to shadow someone for 2 weeks. So this is the 5th week. So this is like the 3rd week that I've been doing the job by myself. And 2 patients come in, and both of them had been stabbed. One of them like not so severe, but then the other one, he needed like internal, like he was having internal bleeding. He needed the blood to be like released and stuff. So I didn't know at the time, but it wasn't my job to do the blood bank. So as a porter, someone will be assigned to Code Red, and it will be their job to run and get the blood for the patient. I didn't know that it wasn't my job at this point, right? But I walked into resus, a part in A&E, and I see this patient. Now, this patient, when I tell you, here to here, was open, like completely open. And like, I could see like his heart beating.
Jesus
like,
Christ.
You know what I'm saying? It was weird things to see, because I was like, that's fake. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It didn't seem real, yeah.
Exactly, it didn't seem real at all. So I got my colleague, the other porter, he told me if I could do the blood, be the Code Red for this patient. So I was like, cool, yeah, I'm on it. So this patient came in at 12 at night, 11:30, 12 at night. And I got the blood for the patient, ran back, did that twice. And they then, as I'm running back, they're transferring the patient into the CT. They're wheeling the patient into CT. So I catch up just in time to like help them transfer the patient onto the CT scan. And as we did it, the blood, like, I don't know how I didn't get covered in it, because blood was just everywhere.
From the guy's body?
Yeah. Like, you know, he was wide open in it and just blood everywhere. So we put him on the CT and we go behind the back, and, you know, all the doctors are there, nurses and stuff, and they've seen this stuff before in it, so they're cool. They're handing over like little jelly babies and sweets in it, like just to be.
It's
like,
just another day at the office.
You know what I'm saying? But for me, I was like, wow, like this is mad. So then they say to me, so can you take us to the theatres? And in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, I know where the theatres are, but there's 2 elevators, and one of the elevators, the trolley with the patient on won't be able to fit in by like just a tiny bit, and the other one it will. But because it is my 5th week, I was bare thinking like, oh my God, like, please don't let me take this patient to the wrong elevator and have to wait. And
yeah, I never thought of a porter having that kind of.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was thinking like, because I'm in my head, I'm thinking like, I don't want to cause any delay in the process.
Yeah, of course.
This guy's dying in front of me. So the CT happens, and like as I go behind the person to like lift up the brake on the trolley, for like literally 0.5 seconds, my leg went shaky. Like, it just went like, I'm not like, it is what it is, isn't it? My leg went a little bit shaky. But then like within like 0.5 seconds, I just fixed up, got back into the mode, and wheeling this guy down the corridor, like fast, with like all the doctors and stuff beside me, and take him into the theatres. And from 12 at night till 7 in the morning, I was running back and forth from the blood bank. Like, when I tell you, this guy must have had 50 units of blood, however many platelets and plasma, and all because basically what happened was they stopped the internal bleeding. They stitched him up. I saw like all this in it. I'm not in the theatre room, but like you're in a side room. I'm literally watching. So they stitched him up and everything. As they stitched him up, he went into a cardiac arrest. So then they had to start do. But because they did that, he opened back up again. It's mad, isn't it? So then that's the reason why I had to get like even more blood, and why it lasted so long.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so yeah, man, working on him till like 7 in the morning. And this was really lovely from like the nurses and doctors, but like after, there was like, he wasn't stable, but he was okay to like go to intensive care unit. When just before we transferred him and stuff, like they applauded me, which I thought like, I've done nothing. Like you guys are like the real heroes, but it's just because like I was running like 150, 200 meters like back and forth. Like, it was mad. But yeah, that was like crazy.
Have you sort of, you know, in the time since, is that something, of those images that ever come back to you that, you know, you think about that?
Not necessarily. No, like it's not trauma to me like that. Like, it doesn't play on my mind seeing that guy. For me, that was stressful in the sense that, you know, basically his outcome was he went to intensive care, and then I found out that he had 2 more cardiac arrests while I was in intensive care, and he passed away. So
You didn't make it.
nah. So it was sad, you know. And the day after, but this was a night shift in it. So when I came in again, some of the doctors were saying like, "Oh, how you doing? Like, you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." So they checked me like that. But then another like stressful day, so to say, was like 2 weeks or a week before the first lockdown. So so this is at the point where like no one knew what COVID was really, innit? So in the hospital it was packed, really, really packed, and people were coughing left, right and centre, like unbelievably packed. And when you have to think, like, when you're transferring someone that's critical and, you know, there's no space, like, it's really, really packed. So it was a bit mad. But then what happened was things were going around saying that, like, you know, if you're showing symptoms, then you have to go isolate for 7 days, innit? So what happened was quite a few people didn't turn up for work. And on this particular day, I turned up at 8 a.m. And 2 other guys were there. At 9 a.m, one of them left, so it was just me and someone else. There's supposed to be 4 of us, so it was just me and someone else. And the third person that was supposed to come came in late. So when he came in, we had 3 people, and it was like, okay, that's all right, right? But then he was like, oh, I got to go on break. I mean, he was like, oh, I'm going to go on lunch now. But when he went on lunch, he didn't come back. Like, he said that he had the symptoms.
Of course, yeah. Well, I'm sure lots of people did. It's
yeah,
handy, innit?
Lots of people had the symptoms.
Lots of people, yeah. Oh, when does the money go in?
You know what I'm saying? So he didn't come back that day. And it was 2 of us that had to hold down A&E.
Wow.
Now, I'm helipad trained, so that means that, like, I have to go up and get, like, the critical patients.
This is amazing, by the way. So I'd like to hop in here and just say, like, this is critical, like, life skill, life experience, you know, technical skill, technical know-how, you know, like procedure. What happens this is all massive for your worldly knowledge moving into the career that you're moving towards, by the way. So
definitely
more power.
Thank you.
So you're helipad trained as well?
Yeah, yes.
Wow.
So on this particular day, went up to go collect a patient. Now, it was a baby in it, like 4 months old, 3 months old, and the baby wasn't breathing. So, like, that was, for me personally, working in a hospital, you see mad things, but whenever it's like a child or a baby, it doesn't sit right at all, in it.
No.
So there was this little baby, and I'm like pushing the trolley down, have the guy pumping the air into the baby, and go down into the resus area, and we transfer the baby onto the incubator, and then the nurses and doctors do what they're doing. But as soon as we transfer the patient onto the incubator, a woman like 2 beds down, so to say, she went into cardiac arrest. So then we're all seeing that, and the nurse, huge, I have to say, like, huge shout out to the nurses and doctors, but especially the nurses, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Like, 'cause the things I saw them do was just unbelievable, innit? Mm-hmm. So nurse and doctors doing a CPR on the patient. I'm seeing this baby here, they're doing whatever they're doing to try and bring that baby back to life. And then, remember, it's only 2 of us working the whole of A&E. Now, A&E is like 4 departments in this particular hospital. So you just hear, like, Porter to Amma, Porter to Lassa, Porter to Reese, constant, innit? And then, like an idiot, I should have said no, but, like, basically my colleague said, oh, can I go? So I'm the shift leader, right? My colleague was like, oh, can I go pray? Like, it's time to go pray, right? And, like, without thinking of it, I was like, yeah, sure, like, do what you have to do, innit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but really I should have said, nah, bro, like, is it okay if you just, because we don't have no one else, like, you know what I'm saying? But I said, yeah, it's cool. So he went to go pray, and then that meant it was only me on A&E. So another call came in, and it got to a point where I was calling downstairs for, like, porters to, like, come up and help, but the shift leader downstairs was saying, like, nah, like, there's no one to come help. even though there was, but like we'll get into that bit.
Yeah.
So so I go back into resource to do another job, and the nurse in charge is like, okay, we have this patient that has to go to CT and then ICU, and then we have this patient that has to go straight to ICU, and both of these patients were like really critical, really critical, and she was like, oh, is there another porter? And I was like, no, it's just me right now. And like when I said that, like I felt bad because I was like, what? Like I messed up, I fucked up, and it felt bad because I was like having to pick which patient I wanted to prioritize.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? And it just felt, I didn't like being in that situation, innit? So quickly took that patient up to the intensive care unit whilst the other people wheeled the other patient into the CT, ran back down, took that patient, took them up, and then did other jobs. But like after doing them 2 jobs, I went downstairs to the porter in the lodge and I was like, yo, like we need someone upstairs like now. And you know, I saw like some people, there's general pool, A&E, there's different departments in it. Mm-hmm. So I saw like these people sitting down waiting for a job, right? And I was like I told, like I was speaking to the shift leader and I was like, yo, like he can come up like just for like an hour or so, just until the guy comes back. And they were like, no. So I lost it, innit? I lost it, I'm not gonna lie. That's the first time at work that I just got pissed, innit? So walked out and I slammed the door like hard. Walked upstairs and I just said like to the nurse in charge, like there's no one. What
would be the reason then to just be not so much of a team player for that team leader downstairs then?
He just
protecting his own interests.
Yeah, because like if one of the porter comes upstairs, then there's only going to be like 2 porters to do the jobs. But you know what I'm saying? So like he would rather have like them sit there because that's where they're supposed to be in it. But
yeah, but you'd think, you know,
exactly. It's about team play. Like,
you know, if someone come upstairs to you, you strike me as the kind of guy who's going to say, look, shit, right, there's 3 of us, right, yeah,
I'm on it,
John,
like,
you get yourself down there, do what you can, fucking get yourself back up here, you know, find somebody,
exactly,
just help.
Exactly. So but nah, like self-interest, man, they just wanted the people, so it was the easier shift for them.
You're going to face a lot of that, I think, in the future.
Yeah,
you're going to come up against a lot of people protecting their interests.
Yeah, can't wait, innit?
Yeah, and break some barriers down.
Trust me. But yeah, man, that was a really stressful day. And after that day, that was the first time, like, I was speaking to my mate on the phone, and I was just like to him, like, bruv, this is, like, I didn't say that, yeah, but like, this the stops and like the pauses in the conversation, you could tell, like, you know, it wasn't a good day. And then funny thing is, like, he drove down from his uni, like the next night or something, like out of the blue, just to like chill.
Oh, so he recognised it in you.
Yeah, 100%. He could see like I was struggling during that period of time, and he came down and we just.
That's a hell of an experience working as a porter in a busy hospital down that way, I bet.
Yeah, man. The amount of like traumas that you see in it. So like shotguns, seen so many stabbings, people with their like heads smashed in, like legs literally flattened. So like just mad little things like that. And then you know, but there are funny times, right? So like, you know what I'm saying? So
thank fuck.
Yeah, 100%, man. So like, it's a bit of a dark humor, yeah. But for example, one of the things that you have to do as a porter is when there's a I just said, what was it? Cardiac arrest. When there's a cardiac arrest, if you're working in the general pool, you have to run, get the equipment, go to the ward. So I was working general pool this day. Ran quick, got the equipment, went to the ward, and they're performing CPR on the guy. And like when you perform CPR, like it's not gentle, like you're pushing, you know. So they're doing this, and then the nurse like brings him back to life, and first thing that he says is like he wakes up here and he's like, oh nurse, like my chest is hurting a little bit, you know, like, and like she was like, oh yeah, I did that, sorry. And then he didn't even realise that like
he'd just been gone.
Yeah, he died, like he didn't even realise. And like the nurse was just like, oh yeah, I did that, my mistake. But it's just weird. And then like obviously when you see like the mums and dads, like when you work on the labour ward and you know you see the joy and everything like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Some profound shit when you get a little baby turn up. Life in its most profound state.
Exactly. Yeah.
Arriving to the chaos. Welcome to the chaos.
Trust, but yeah, man, it's
Oh, that's been an amazing experience for you. I think that's one of those jobs, you know, and that's some of that experience that's going to be, that'll be lifelong. That.
Yeah, definitely. Like even the hours that I was working, like that taught me a lot, you know.
Yeah, shifts.
Like, yeah, doing like 60 hours a week, like 5 days on, 2 days off. It was peak. And then like especially if you're doing like night shifts, because it runs into your day off, innit? So you finish at 8 in the morning, you go to bed, like you wake up at like 4 p.m. and then that's one of your days off gone, basically, innit?
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and I've read some stuff on, and this is tricky because it's a necessary part of our structured world, but people who work shift work, I forget how long, I think it's for more than a decade. I forget the stat, I'll probably sever this, but people who work shift work for a long time can lose up to 7 years off their life expectancy because of the circadian rhythm getting knocked out all the time. So sleep patterns and not getting the sleep that's required. Because what I used to think was, if I get my 8 hours, because I used to party a lot, I used to think, right, well, I haven't slept since Thursday, but I'll sleep, you know, but you don't get it back. It's like you can't, and you're supposed to sleep to the circadian clock, you know, so like in the dark you're meant to be asleep, and you'll get your deepest sleep at like between 2 and 5 in the morning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when we're doing shift work and we're doing it for a decade, 2 decades, it fucks up your circuitry. And
can imagine.
Yeah, it seems to be that it's pretty common that the life expectancy shortens because literally you just
it's not meant to be.
Yeah, but then how do we can't not have it that way. We need the people in the night, you know.
Yeah,
you've seen it, like you say, people coming in the hospital just fucking, and I imagine, because I've seen it myself when I'm in the hospital, you know. I remember last time I was up there, one of my kids came in the bedroom in the middle of the night, as he used to do, you know, like, get in your bed, daddy. It's like 4 a.m, and one of them came in and he slipped and he smashed his face on the side of the bedside table, and it's all this commotion, he's screaming in the dark, and then I turned the light on and he'd bit his tongue, but he'd bitten it. It was only like 3 at the time, I think. But the sharpness of his teeth on the underside of his tongue, the softer side, and like the corner of his tongue is like hanging out of his mouth, and there was just blood everywhere. And I knew straight away, I was like, whoa, we've got to go. And I remember being sat in the hospital at like 3 a.m, and people coming in the doors, and it's just these little kind of microcosms of different lives.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just chaos comes through the door, and like, God, what's happened there? And there's a grandma and a mum and a blah, blah, blah. And then an hour later, someone else comes through and there's something else. And they're just, everyone's like these little kind of
pockets of like,
of life and different journeys and crazy chaos and,
true.
Or just even mundane accidents but everyone's coming to this hub, to this place. As you rightly say, you know, these nurses and these doctors who work tirelessly, you know, often for not enough reward.
Not enough, man, at all. Like, I'm so shocked by like Boris, you know, like I don't want to swear in it, but like I can't believe he didn't like up their pay.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when he's had everybody going outside and giving all the rhetoric about, you know, this is, I don't want to get too bogged down in all that stuff, but it's clear, you know, whatever you think about current policy and situation, when you know, you've had a little bit of tuition on how to talk, right? Because it's important how you talk when you're addressing people, when you're trying to get a point across. And as you go further up the ladder, it gets more and more refined, you know, and eventually, you know, you learn the art of avoiding things and evading certain things and turning the page. And we're at a point now where the behavioural insights team at the government, you know, Spy B and organisations like that, you know, 77th Brigade, which it makes sense, you know, businesses clocked on a long time ago to get psychological analysis within business, because how do people think? So how do we maximise profit? How do we predict behaviour? When governments have got that implemented, you know, and they're using applied psychology to affect the way people perceive things, how they behave, it's a pretty scary time. And what I found really quite insidious was, you know, I followed prior to this COVID situation. You know, I remember the nurses and the NHS staff getting knocked back on the vote for a fair pay rise, like 6 months before. Hang on a minute. These guys that keep telling me to go outside and clap because, you know, telling me how important the NHS is and how wonderful these people are. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, 5 minutes ago, you tossed them off like a pair of dirty socks for a pay rise. And I'm thinking, it's just such a cliche, like the ability to just say something and kind of create a tagline, a trademark, and say something and get everybody on board, and so everyone runs out and they're clapping because everyone wants to feel good about it. And yeah, I think everybody understands the NHS staff, nurses in particular, are doing a thankless task. Because I think many of us in the last probably 10, 15 years, I've been in there lots of times and I've seen people going, the NHS, it's fucking load of bollocks. And I'm always like, no. Their funding and the hierarchical thing that we don't see, we're just seeing the staff running fucking arse from elbow around this place trying to do stuff. We shouldn't be complaining at this doctor who doesn't know where the notes are because the system isn't embedded with like a real, you know, it's just this ambiguous fucking mess because who's funding it or they're not funding, that's been taken away and we just got it going, but now it's gone, so now we've got to readapt. It's like, and then you're getting told, go and clap and your NHS and save the NHS, protect the NHS. It's like, well, no, you fucking protect the NHS.
Trust me, that's their job, isn't it? Like, what? It's mad. You know, it's madness.
You know, protect the people so the people aren't all fucked up having to go in there all the time anyway because you're selling us fucking poison and everything. But that's another story.
Yeah, not even just that. Like, even when you said like early on about like the mental health cases, you know, like there should be like facilities and stuff for them. Like, because when they come in the hospital, in my experience, like it's not really help for them, innit? It's just like contain them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There should be like services and stuff for them to go to, but because it's so short staffed and so like underfunded, they all just come into the A&E when, you know, there's people like dying and but like, and like the nurses aren't necessarily trained in that field. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So
I think so much of the mental health thing sort of plays into your story arc today, Darren, which is, you know, we have to find a way, and young people like you and even Aidan, all these young people who've got aspirations to sort of go into the world and try and get into the machine and try and
change it from within.
Change it from within. You know, all of these issues that we talk of, mental health, all of it comes from the family. It all starts and ends with this crazy race. We've got to get money and to get status. And then in doing that, in chasing that, like the hidden in plain sight magic that we talked of earlier, which was you just remembering having tea in front of the telly with your mum and dad in the same room in the same house, just together. That was golden.
Yeah.
We've got to get back to that somehow. We've got to try and get back to a place where money and
social media has a big impact on that. You know?
Fucking
like the thing is so fake, man. It's so fake.
Yeah, I've just finished a book, a really interesting book by Abigail Schreier about the transgender movement, which was really interesting because what it talks about, the correlations between, and I've read this in terms of young girls who have got anxiety and depression, suicide rates, things like that. The correlation between so many of these ailments, these what she refers to, Abigail Schreier in the book, social pathogens, social media. You know, like the idea that these memes, these ideas, we lock onto them and then likes appear and you get this kind of affirmation and this apparent, like we spoke about earlier, there's nothing like sitting in front of somebody and actually seeing somebody and, you know, how many people say things here that they would never fucking say here? Not because they're any braver or any weaker, but because in real life there's this chemistry happening, there's this exchange of energy and truth and authenticity because here we are now, physical beings. You've got eyes and ears and a face and movement. I have. In there, it's just, this is my opinion, and not only that, I'm going to send it out there, and then a load of people like my opinion, so that blows smoke up me, and now I'm going to, and we've created this we've proliferated this insane, false sense of what it is to be a human, and so many young people are fucking scared to death of going out into the real world now.
It's true, 100%. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I haven't, so a few years ago, like during that period of time when I was working 38 degrees and I was going out on the weekends, I was posting like just stupid things on my Snapchat, you know. But I realized that, you know, like from having the money and like giving it away and seeing like how, you know, my family and everyone was like loving and everything seemed good, and then from not having the money and then just seeing how things all just divert back, that's when I was like, you know, like I can't be living like that kind of like fake life, if that makes sense, you know, because that's all it.
There's no nourishment there, man, and I hope to fucking God that we, as a wider civilization, that we clock on, you know. I think we're seeing it in studies all the time. We're seeing it. We might not be scientists, all of us individually, but we're seeing it in the real world. We're seeing the consequences of people being on the phones too much, being engaged in this kind of disingenuous reality that's like soothing on some kind of superficial level, but actually it's corrupting and causing deep long-term issues that are they're affecting the hive understanding of what it is to be a human being. And I think, you know, again, come back to my kids, you know, I've kept screens kind of at a healthy distance, i.e. we ain't playing on iPads and screens, you know. They've got a Mega Drive, we've got our phones, you know, they're aware of phones. My oldest kid's 7, he's aware of the phone. I've taught him GarageBand on the iMac so he can make tunes. He's making tunes, he's made a video for his tune, he's done artwork, but he's not in there. I think a big mistake we make is, oh, this is a brain game, it's a maths game for him, and it keep, you know, he's quiet when he plays it and it's educational. No. When you're 2 years old, right, doesn't matter if it's a fucking brain game or it's educational or if it's story time. What it is immersive, hypnotic graphic colour, just fucking literally.
Like when they sit in front of the TV, you know what I'm saying? Like right in front, like they're not actually they're just literally looking at the colours.
You're just hypnotised and kind of numbed out, and at that age your brain development is happening, and that's what you program in. Oh, where is it? What do you mean we're going to the park? I don't want to go in the park, it's cold, it's wet, so we've got to make some kind of understanding, I think, collectively about fucking what we're doing giving kids screens. It's insane.
Trust. And even when you think about it, like the advances in the way how our technology has advanced over time, even like 20, 30 years ago, people wouldn't be texting on a mobile. Like, so you have to think, like, what effect will like having a phone and like smartphones have to like the people in like 50 years time. Like you have to, you know what I'm saying? Like people aren't going to be able to communicate. Like it's all just literally can be texting. And
well, you know, texting was one of the things I've been honest with myself about and look back at now, because I'm old enough to know that you didn't have mobile phones. You know, I used to knock on someone's door. Oh, they've just missed them, love. They've all gone down the park. And I'm an hour behind him. I hope and you'd walk for another 2 miles and hope that your mates were there. There was no fucking texting anybody.
That's one.
But I remember I was like 16 or something when the phones sort of became a thing, and I got a little phone, and I'll never forget. And this is what I kind of hang my hat on with my point of view now, which is my own guilt, which was I can remember at 16 being out on a weekend party and all of a sudden like realising I'm not going to be going to work. I'm supposed to be going to work tomorrow, on a roof in fucking wherever. And I can't go because I'm hammered and I'm fucking steaming. I'm having the time of my life and I'm not going. But before I had this mobile phone, I would have had to like got me fucking mate's phone from his house, where, you know, the actual phone with a cord in it, and rang my boss and said, look, I can't come to work, and gave him whatever. I could have been honest and said, look, I'm pissed, or I'm giving him some bullshit, I don't feel well. But I'd have had to have rang him, and I would have rang him. Or he'd have called my house phone and someone would have said he's not. There would have been a direct consequence of at least talking. When the mobile came out and I realised I could fucking send a text, and I did, I'd be like, right, we're not going tomorrow. And I'd send a text and I'd turn my phone off.
Done.
As I sit here today, I realise that little microcosm, that if I stand back and look at it for what it has become, when we text each other, when we just write little bits of black code into a white screen and just ping it out, you know, the interpretation, the context. I think we've known this for a long time, but as I sit and look now and I think about that that entry point for me of like, oh yeah, this means I can fucking like that. There's a diminished responsibility I can get away with now.
Yeah.
I don't fancy that thing, so I just said, oh, not going to make it. Boom, I haven't had to like, well, come on, Sam, what do you mean? Oh, come on, mate, I really want you there. It's going to be gutting if you evaded all of that. And that is what's happened. We've like evaded it, and now we've added like, here's a picture of me, and this is me. And it's like, no, that isn't you. That's you after like 300 photos and God knows how many filters and
Trust me, yeah.
and fucking this whole avatar world that we've built for ourselves now, which is all in this little black mirror. It's
mad, isn't it? Yeah.
So you've got a big job on your hands in the future, brother. Well, listen, I've really, really enjoyed this, Darren.
Yeah, me too.
And
man.
you've inspired me. You've had me heart in my fucking throat today as well, because the idea of you and your brothers and sisters just, and so many other kids who've lived in a life like you've lived, it's awful.
Yeah, man.
But you've lifted me, because everything you're doing and everything you've done is leading towards making that better for people.
Definitely.
You've got a lovely energy. You've got a genuine energy, and you've got the world behind you. I think you're going to do all right. I think we're going to see a lot more of you.
Thank you, man.
Where do we send people to find you, Darren? Obviously, we'll link everything in at the bottom of this video, so links and stuff like that.
To be honest, it's probably just Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I'll do is I'll link in all the bits and bobs that I've watched of you on the internet, because you've done some wicked stuff. You did say earlier you might be able to perform something for us.
I got I know 3 off the top of my head, so I'll just tell you the title and you can decide which one you want to hear.
Okay.
Okay, so there's 8 to 18, depicts certain aspects from 8 to 18. No Limitations, talks a bit about stereotyping. That was in the labeling video. And then one on mental health called Mr. Mood.
Let's go on mental health, seeing as we've been around the houses. And listen, we're going to finish on this.
Funny thing is that I haven't, this is the first time it's going to be on anything as well, so that's funny.
Love it. Let's go.
Its name starts with a capital D, and I don't mean me. It greets you with an explosion of emotion at night and stays till morning light, talking with ideas that fill you full of fear and fright. Only then, leaving for its dearest friend, Mr. A, to follow you about for the rest of the day. Their names, depression and anxiety. Mr. D and Mr. A affects every individual in different ways, and I'm not here to say how it can be beaten, because every individual goes through their own healing. For me, it was poetry. Mr. D and Mr. A also have a friend that some would say is the worst. It makes you feel like you've been cursed, and the only way to end the pain is to get hit by a 70-mile-per-hour train. Luckily for me, a friend turned up before that fate, and without telling her my plans, all I could think was, wow, she saved a life that day. With my nose still in my pocket, I got on a train with her and went straight to college. 16-year-old me had the knowledge to stick to my goals and keep my promise, because life is a blessing, and certain things just don't need stressing. Suicide, anxiety, and depression, when you strip it down and make a confession, its only goal is to make you sad. That's why Mr. S, Mr. A, and Mr. D won't get the better of you or me. So if you're struggling, please keep hope. The dark days will pass and your greatness will spark. Always. Please always remember, you're not alone in the dark. Thank you.
Oh, man. Fucking beautiful. Yeah, man. You're powery feeling that, Aidan. Listen, people. Darren Keenan, you're gonna build a better future, man.
100%, bruv.
More power.
Oh, cool.
Excellent.
And a spud. There you go.
Gosh. Nice one, Darren.
Safe, man.